Just different.
I see the way these people moving, gotta step according. These days you never know who's watching, better keep your 40. Been on my soapbox for years, saying the end was coming. While y'all was busy popping Zans, the master plan unfolded. Now all I see is bot bitches and fake niggas and pussy niggas who only bust triggers on other niggas. You get an illegal weapon and started taking pictures like them feds ain't watching all in your celly system. China's here, motherfucker, they're no longer coming. We wear the shackles on our faces and you niggas love it. You niggas really...
Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for tuning in. You could have been anywhere, but you decided to pull up. You decided to pull up and come and hang out with your boy here at the Culture Show. Today we're gonna do, another segment of Culture Reacts. I do want to, kind of give you guys a bit of a rundown, but you guys kind of know what we have in effect right now. So right now I'm working on a climate change presentation. I'm almost done with it. I'll probably honestly be done with it by tonight, depending on how depending on how much I get done today. I think I'll be able to get done with it by tonight. So climate change presentation or climate change hopes presentation, that's coming most likely tomorrow. And then I also have another one that I'm working on, another presentation called, where is it at? Let me pull it up. Black Faces, Black Voices, the history of the Democrat Party, right? So we're going to go ahead and man, I can't wait to get into those. I'm not going to lie. I've been working on them very hard. So I think you guys are going to really appreciate the work that I put in for these videos, all the research that went in. So this is stuff that I've been looking up and researching for like almost a decade now. So I really hope that you guys appreciate the thought and the effort that went into it. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to react to a video called Black Conservatives versus White Liberals. Jubilee posted this. Jubilee posted it yesterday, I believe. Let me make sure. I think it was yesterday. No, it was today. This is 5 hours ago. So we're hot. You know what I'm saying? We're hot on the trail. So we're gonna go ahead and pull that up. If we get any ads, who cares, right? If you don't like ads, go ahead and send your boy $12 on the go ahead and send your boy $12 so we can go ahead and get the rich people YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Let's get the rich people YouTube. Also follow me on Rumble so I can start live streaming on Rumble as well. I want to live stream on Rumble, but I need 5 followers to do so. So please go ahead. I got the link in there. I'm about to put the link in the comments as well so we can do that. Give me just a second here. You. So we're gonna go ahead and hop on in there. All right. All right. All right. Me right. So for my clip, when I clip this, all right, let's do this. All right. Black Conservatives versus White Liberals, Middle Ground by Jubilee.
This is the 112th episode of Middle Ground, and we want you to help us decide what the next 112 episodes will be. Join our Middle Ground Patreon community and make Middle Ground with us.
I was chosen to read the following prompt.
white Americans have way more advantages than Black Americans?
I think I'm a rarity here.
It would seem so.
Do white Americans have more advantages because they're white, or do just white Americans have advantages because of historic factors? I think that people want to argue at the end of the day over whether it's because you're white or not. I think that the answer is because you're white in the past, and that's how it kind of carries over to today. You know, even in times of the United States history where Black people tried to build wealth, you know, with the Tulsa riots and everything, where that this wealth has been destroyed. And something that's upsetting to me is when conservatives talk about how we can't blame the past for what's happening in the present. That is true to some extent, but then the next breath they'll talk about how important it is to have dual parent households, how important it is to have a strong family, to have responsibility passed on from parent to child. And we've seen in the past that because of racial issues, that process has been severely disrupted.
The funny thing is that agreeing with all these things is when I did my research when I was younger, which arrived me to my standpoint of being a conservative, because I believed it was racist, Democrat, liberal ideologies and policies dating all the way back to the 1800s, all the way up to the 1960s, and then the purported big switch. But I think it was more so when Democrats decided to be a bit more cloak and dagger about their true opinions of Black people and be more secretive and more, oh, we want to help you by, you know, doing these things and seeing them as
Doing
inferior.
what things?
Affirmative action, welfare, all sorts of things that
welfare.
eventually ruin our culture and places where we are now.
So
but I want to get back to the history of it, because we're talking about.
Well, I just want to make sure we're clear. Giving them money hurt them, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes, giving them, because if your father's out of the home, that's when we give you the money. If you're living in this housing,
so then give them the money while the dad's
rent free.
Well, then give them the money while the dad's in the home.
If you're working this amount of hours and getting blessed in this amount of dollars, you're getting money from the government. Yes, it is incentivized.
This is the problem right here with white liberals. He ain't cut Destiny off. Now, once he went ahead, he let Destiny speak. He let Destiny go ahead and get his thing out of the way, right? You know, and Destiny actually made a good point. Destiny made a good point, a decent point. You know, like there's a lot of conservatives that will say, "Oh, well, you know, you can't blame the past. You know, on the now. You know, you got to just look towards the future. You know, and just focus on what you can do now." But then in the same breath, will say, "Well, we need to go back to these, you know, like to single or to two-parent households, things like that." But if we aren't looking at the past and what got us there to begin with, then we can't even begin to solve that problem, right? So that's basically the point that Destiny was making. And bro stood by. He sat by. He said, "Yeah, okay, that makes sense." And he said, "I actually agree with you on that." And then here comes this guy, Alec, Mr. White Liberal Alec. He comes in, interrupting. I'm like, so giving him money, that helps, that hurts. So yeah, why don't you listen to the brother, and maybe you'll understand something.
Bring the baby out with the bathwater.
I don't even know what that means in this scenario, because yes,
you're
okay, you want to talk about throwing babies out with the bathwater? Margaret Sanger wanted to exterminate the Black race because she thought they were weeds. So yeah, we can literally talk about throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That's what Margaret Sanger, that's what Democrat policies wanted to do to my people. So that's why I feel so strongly about it, because it is these policies that date back centuries that were built off of the death and poverty of my people.
Let's take a breath. So
I'm breathing.
Okay.
So a lot of babies aren't, but I am, sadly.
I don't know what that means. When I say throw the baby out with the bathwater, you want to completely get rid of welfare, okay? Or at least the concern. I don't want
to say that. Did he even say that? Am I in the fucking twilight zone here? Did he say that? Did he say where in any of that, you know, diatribe did he say that we should cut welfare? He said that this has been an issue. It has caused issues in our community. He didn't say we should cut it. He ain't even give you his policy positions yet. So, all right.
I don't want to put that on you. You haven't said that, but the conservative apparatus does, clearly. So giving money to a group of people does not hurt them.
I mean, sure, if you're talking about a...
What? What? Giving money to people does not hurt them. It can't. What would happen if you gave $1 million to a 6-year-old? That 6-year-old's gonna fucking die within 2 days. You're gonna if you gave $1 million to me when I was 6, you know what I would have done? I would have overdosed on Ben and Jerry's. I would have overdosed on Sprite and Arizona and hot Cheetos. Like I would have been shitting fucking red and fucking like I would have been fucked. And if you gave me $1 million at 6 years old, you know, like, and obviously we're not getting $1 million for not having to follow him home, but I'm just saying, like, give me money as a person that has and has the incentive not to spend it on anything that's like, like if you're going to get that money anyways, if you're going to get that money regardless, as long as the father's not at home, then you don't have necessarily an incentive to spend it on, exactly what, they say you should spend it on. You don't have an obligation, or you should spend it on your child. You're not necessarily going to do that, especially depending on how you play the game. I know some women that are going around, they're sleeping with men, they're having children by these men, getting married, this, that, and the other, then going through and divorcing them, getting alimony and child support, things like that, and then moving on to the next guy. Like, I personally know women like that. That's what you get when you incentivize this behavior. When you incentivize this behavior, that's what people go and do, because it's just the easiest thing to do. It's easier to do it that way.
A lottery, just
literally
take
can't.
money, but
Yes.
there are strings
Take money.
attached to that money.
Take all the
there
money.
are strings attached
Give
to
them
that
millions. Make them all millionaires. I don't care. Giving money to black people does not hurt them.
And that has
thinking
not happened, though. That has not happened.
What do you mean?
That has not happened.
It
hasn't been a
You're saying
reparations. It hasn't been this or that. It has been a
saying
welfare program,
welfare
Great
was
Societies
designed.
Act that
Welfare
was built
was-
off of the idea of, hey, we get these families split up. We get these
So
people
then let
living
them
here.
keep the family together and keep all the money.
I mean,
There you go.
I guess
Boom,
so,
done.
but I guarantee you,
I guess
there's
so.
no way that
Why would you
happen.
not advocate for that?
So in your, I guess, research of like history of this country and everything, do you find like the Reconstruction era and like the failures of like what it wanted to be and then what it ended up being, and then which led into, had downstream effects to enter into the Jim Crow era. And, you have policies like redlining that influence, how schools are funded. The downstream effects of slavery, do you think put black people as generally in a worse off position than white Americans?
I think generation by generation, the effects of slavery have been diluted, but generation by generation, the effects of racism, welfare-based policies, and things of that nature became even more great. So in the 1880s or so, when we had our first black members of Congress, which were indeed Republicans, I think that was a great start for things. But obviously, we had terrible things that happened, like the Tulsa massacre, among black people being chased out of their homes by the KKK.
Sure.
All funded by the Democrat Party, all supported by the Democrat Party.
Well, I mean, I need to stop you there. Can you attribute not to the party, but to the ideology? Because I think when you think, regardless,
Break the ideology from the party, you're going after two separate entities when they're both connected. They're both connected into one. You're going after two beasts and they're only it's one. So you like, what do you? You're going to separate the beast for what? For what? For what? It's the same beast. It is the same beast. It's the same beast.
regardless of whatever the party switch was, traditionally conservative values did not like. That's more aligned with more racist policies
It's
in this
very
country.
difficult
Like
to
very
compare 2020s conservatism to 1880s conservatism.
I knew they were about to do that, so let me go ahead and break that down, because I was having an argument with a white liberal the other day about this same thing. They were basically trying to equate liberalism and conservatism with Democrat and Republican, or liberalism and conservative with good and evil, as if good is liberal, evil is conservative, and good is Democrat, evil is Republican, this, that, and the other, right? So we were talking about this, and I'm saying, like, no, liberal and conservative, they have their own neutral definitions. Okay, they have their own neutral definitions. So the conservative values back in those days, what do you think they were trying to conserve, sir? What do you think they were trying to conserve? So it's not the same. It's not the same kind of conservative. It is not. They don't have the same kind of values, right? I would argue, even still to this day, the Republicans are still the more progressive party, because we're still the part, or they're still the party that at least doesn't want to go based off of race. They at least want to move forward from that. That's all we talk about, is moving forward, while the Democrat Party talks about living in the past. What can we do to make the past, to make up for all the things that happened in the past? What can we do? Why aren't we better off than, like, what? It's always a comparative game. Why aren't we like these countries over there in Europe? Like, it's always a comparative game. It's always a comparative game, and it's always going back 150 years to the worst of the worst times in America, a stain in our history, which we all understand is a stain, which is why We learned about it in school, which is why we were told that these people were evil in school. This is why. This is why. Because we know, we understand this. We all understand this. But that doesn't equate to conservative and liberal, right? That doesn't equate to like these things don't equate, and they're trying to match up liberal with evil, or liberal with good, conservative with evil. I can't stand when they do that shit.
Oh, I was loving the 1v4.
So personally, I feel like there's really only one thing that white people have a true advantage over black people with, and it's that white people are likely to be forced into a box. It happens with black people onto other black people, but it especially happens with white liberals onto black conservatives, where we are told that we are supposed to think a certain way, be a certain way, and if we're not, then we're called all these names like etc. And the worst of all is bootlicker, because I hate when a white liberal
Is what he's saying.
tells me as a black man that I'm a bootlicker, because then I ask, whose boot am I licking? Because you're telling me as a white person that me as a black person that I'm licking your boot because I don't think in this box that you want me to frame my mentality in. That to me is real racism, and that's what we need to stop allowing to happen to us, because black people are so quick now to not branch out and to have new ways of thinking, or to go into careers like agriculture and these other career paths that black people don't typically get into. It's not because of racism stopping them from getting in there. It's because we're told for so long that you have to follow this path and you have to think a certain way.
I think America is a great place for a Black person. I think I'm an American. Anything that's available to you is available to me and mine.
I've personally never experienced white people having way more privileges than me. Like, I'm sure you could find certain institutions where Black people are treated differently, but in general, I don't think that I've missed out on anything because of being Black. And if anything, it's given me more of a voice because people will want to hear what I say now because I'm Black. So if anything, I have more of a platform now just on the basis of being a Black conservative and saying what's not popular than I would if I was just a white person who was also conservative.
I agree with the Supreme Court's decision to end affirmative action.
Albion Online is a sandbox MMORPG in which you write your own story instead of following a laid out path. Explore.
Sorry about that.
I think I'm not going to start. Someone else can start. Sorry.
I think affirmative action has served its purpose. I think that it was necessary for a particular time. And I think that every Black person knows how to get into college. Every Black, I mean, you can pull out the names, the Oprah, President Obama. You can pull out the head of Time Warner was Black man, the Forbes was Black man. We know what to do now. We don't need affirmative action anymore. And to me, affirmative action is offensive sometimes, especially nowadays, because I have 6 children and 2 boys, 4 girls. And all of them went to Harvard and Columbia and this one and that one. And it breaks my heart to think that they accomplished that goal of getting into these institutions just because of the color of their skin.
I can definitely say that it creates a lot of tension when you have affirmative action. I remember my first week at the University of Illinois, I was sitting with some classmates and a white student turned to me and jokingly like, "Hey, Xavier, like, did you just attach a smiley face when you applied for this college?" And I started asking what he meant. And he said to me that he was like, "You're Black. I'm assuming you had decent grades. You could have just attached a smiley face and you would have gotten into the university." So I was livid by that. And I went off. I started naming all my accomplishments. And I felt so confident only for about an hour. Because then an hour later, I started saying to myself, like, wow, like, did I actually earn my way in here? I started to have this insecurity. And I started wondering to myself, did I earn this position myself, or did my ancestors' suffering earn this for me?
And too, I've seen it in the sense of like affirmative action taking away from other people who are minorities. Like I had a friend who was Asian and he in high school and he really wanted to go to MIT. That was his dream school. He interned there. He was super like prepared to go there and he didn't get in. And you can only assume that it was because of affirmative action because they have such a large Asian population that they want to admit other people.
Yeah, I was going to actually argue that it's more racist nowadays because it excludes so many Asian Americans from getting into universities who do deserve a spot and they can't get in because of affirmative action, which again, like you were saying, was necessary at the time.
Yeah.
But now it's like anybody, if you have the skills to do it and you're in America, you can get in.
I don't think affirmative action is the worst thing, considering all the different types or aspects of a background you might take into account when somebody's getting into college, whether they were in certain clubs, you know, Boy Scouts, what type of classes they took, that might not be available to everybody. I don't think that factoring in the affirmative action is necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like because of everything you guys have said, the optics behind it are so horrible today that even if it is slightly beneficial in the long run for certain people, I think we can probably refocus most of that into figuring out like the class that people come from, the neighborhoods, the backgrounds or whatever, without it having to necessarily target race. The only thing that I kind of wonder now that it's gone is instead of a black person being in school thinking like, man, am I here because I'm an affirmative action pick? Is it going to be a kid that is poor or a kid that's from a different zip code?
I think we
who's
should
gonna
do
say-
away with all of it. It's just like submit an application, no demographics. Why do they ask your sexuality? Like, why do they ask all that stuff?
You know, I have a feeling that most of the topics are going to be just like this. Because I have a feeling. I call me crazy, but I have a hunch about white liberals. Okay, not all of them. I think some of them are way too gone, way too far gone. But there's a lot of white liberals that I actually feel for, because I think that they feel guilty. I think that they feel a sense of shame, a sense of guilt in being white, and they believe that the only way to get over this sense of shame uh, is by espousing these viewpoints. I honestly believe that most Americans, especially most white Americans, actually believe in conservative values and more conservative things, but they believe that if they actually express those values, then they'll be called racist. Just like if a black person believes in those conservative values, we believe we're going to be called an Uncle Tom. And it's not like I just believe it. That's something that actually happens, right? That's something I get called whenever I talk, to any, body on any social media platform. If I go to, like even back in the day when I would talk about things like this, that would be the main response, like, oh, so you're tap dancing for the white folks. So you're tap dancing, you know what I mean? Like, you can't have conservative American patriotic values in this country without being seen, whether you're black, whether you're white, as a racist or as an Uncle Tom. And that's just what it is. Like, so I think that most of the conversation is going to be like that. But they're going to be like this, where most people agree, and then, you know, you have these other two, coming in, straggling in behind.
So, if affirmative action accomplished its purpose, why do we still see the disparities that we do in the professional workplace? If you average white wealth and compare it to black wealth totals, white people as a whole have about 50 times greater wealth than black people as a whole per capita. So I just don't understand why you think affirmative action has accomplished its purpose. I don't see
Curious.
that.
Why do you assume that just because there is a disparity means it's because of a racial issue?
What else would it be from?
I mean,
What else would it be from? That's what that's what else would it be from? See, that's how you can see a racist right there. That's how you see a racist right there. You know what I'm saying? Well, yeah, I mean, there's a disparity, but it just has to just be because they're black. There you go. Just because they're black. Move on. You know what I'm saying? Move on. Give them a couple $100, and you know what I'm saying? Give them some money. Move on. Whatever. Because they're black. I wonder if we're gonna get to black on black crime in this. I really want to see his fucking face on black crime. But let's go.
Economic abilities,
Desire to
skills.
go, desire to.
I mean,
So
zip
it
code
was their
does
fault
play
then.
a lot. If you grow up in a neighborhood that experiences a lot of trauma, you're not as likely to do as well in school, which means you're.
Why did they grow up in a neighborhood that experiences a lot of trauma?
I mean, lots of people do.
Yes,
live in
but
a-
why specifically do more black people?
Government assistance programs.
Government assistance programs, like
Yeah.
what?
Try redlining.
I mean, you can go into that if you'd like to, but let's
It
take a
is
look
relevant.
at the Great Societies Act, which was created to kick black fathers out of the home and get black mothers on welfare assistance. These things aren't beneficial for economics. These things aren't beneficial for actually paving a way for success for black children and black families. I mean, reducing a 2-family household to a 1-family household isn't going to make them the richest man in the world. It isn't even going to get them out of high school. Nonetheless,
You mean
the ability to even
parent.
get to college.
You mean
Yeah,
two-parent?
the child, yes, but a 2-parent household
Yeah.
in comparison to a 1-parent household, that child is not going to be nearly as successful. That child is more disposed to being sent into prison by doing crimes or not doing very well in school. So how are they even supposed to get that, that wealth disparity shrunk if they aren't even able to get out of the community that is causing these problems for them?
Something I think that this conversation illustrates is that like affirmative action is literally the very end of the line of a lot of different parts of a person's life. And by that point, trying to rectify all of the inequities that have existed, to try to remedy any of that at the very end with affirmative action, it might just be too broad a brush. And maybe we'd be better served focusing on the earlier issues than trying to throw a kid who maybe, can barely read at a 6th grade level into a college to hope that that's the thing that fixes the problem at the end of the line.
I think affirmative action wasn't really supposed to like send kids to Harvard that weren't prepared to go to Harvard. I think that's quite a myth, in fact.
No, but that's exactly what's happening, sir.
I think those that have the qualities to get to Harvard were before affirmative action could just completely overlooked. Clarence Thomas is like the perfect example. Regardless of what you think about him, he was able to get to Harvard because of affirmative action, because it focused on finding people that were again like just overlooked for those.
But things ended up changing. It morphed into something else. So what started out as a good program of giving all Black people or people with a lesser chance or lesser opportunity, it started out as that, and then it morphed and I'm not sure who morphed it, but it morphed into, okay, so now we have to have one Black, one Hispanic, one this, one that.
That's not how that works.
But hey, talk to the corporations, talk to the people who hire, talk to the board members who say we need to have a woman on the board, we need to have a Black on the board, we need to have a Latina, a Latinx, whatever on the board. So it morphed from helping us into now
tokenization.
Yes. So you have to have one of this, one of that.
Well, when you start with a country where people only hire you if you're white, that's necessary. And I know that you said that it started good and then ended whatever.
This is what happens when you don't know your history. I can't wait. I might move the climate change one bit. I might do Black voices, Black faces, or Black faces, Black voices first, because I don't know. This is kind of riling me up a little bit. Like I kind of want to like go hard. Keep going.
Whatever. And I don't think that affirmative action was perfect by any measure, but we still see really, really bad inequality. So if you're going to get rid of affirmative action, what's the replacement?
Meritocracy.
People need to.
There's no meritocracy in this country. You look at Elon Musk, he's destroying Twitter. There's no meritocracy. That's ridiculous.
Well, first thing I want to bounce back to is it's not a myth that there are like minorities that are being put into colleges that they're not ready for. If you look at a lot of these top universities, including Harvard, Yale, etc., you're going to see a lot of minorities on academic probation because they are being placed in universities that they are not ready for. They're not cut out for that just yet. And it even just makes sense if you look at how much they have to achieve in order to get there. Asian students on average have to score 450 points higher than a Black student in order to get in the same university. So if you think of the universities that have courses, et cetera, that grade on a curve, you can only have so many people with an A, so many people with a B, etc. So that means that the bottom percentile is going to fail. Who is most likely, just based on logic, going to be the ones failing? It's going to be the people who didn't have the credentials to get there in the first place. And then I have to bounce back to.
I want to get you on that point, because I would posit that the people who are least likely to have good outcomes in an academic setting are those who have to work 2 jobs, are those who have to drive there from home because they can't afford a dorm, are those who have to go into crippling financial debt. These are and have other stresses in their life. They can't afford a doctor, they can't afford a dentist, they can't afford anything.
I had to do that too, though.
Those are the
That's
people.
not just Black people. It's not just.
But it's
If we're looking at
overwhelmingly
straight numbers. There are more white people in poverty than Black people.
If you look at the raw numbers, but if you
I don't know,
actually
what are the
understand what
wrong
you're talking
numbers?
about.
No
The
number
issue is
is
poverty
wrong.
in general, though. I don't think it's like who's in poverty. It's like poverty sucks.
Maybe we should make
matter
college
who's in it.
free, and maybe we want to have
If you have a
affirmative action
program-
wouldn't be that necessary.
But I think white shorty right here. I think I'm sorry. Maybe that's insensitive. I don't care. I think white shorty right here. I think she's like really a closet conservative for real. I think this is what I'm saying. I think she's really a closet conservative. She was just waiting for some niggas to come around so she can feel free. Look, she leaned back. First, she was kind of stiff at first. I don't know if y'all remember at first when she came out. You know what I'm saying? Let me see if I can get like that, just a still shot real quick. You know what I'm saying? See, look, hold, we go. She's kind of stiff right here. You feel what I'm saying? She was stiff. She was real uptight. You know what I'm saying? But look at her now. Look at the body language, bro. She's just out there. She's enjoying herself right now because there's Black people here that actually agree with what she's thinking on the inside, bro. Like I could watch. She the whole rest of the time she's about to be. If she's gonna come out with the Black people every time. She's coming out with the black folks every time. Watch.
It'll get even more ghetto.
If you have a program that says if you are under a certain income level, this is how we'll help you, that will overwhelmingly help Black people at a far greater percentage than it will help white people.
Trump supports Black lives.
You.
Looking for an easier way to get that LLC next to your business name? Say hello to Taylor Brand. You just go to their site, enter your
That rich people YouTube. What off?
I think that President Trump supports all lives. I think that he looks at all American citizens as equal. I don't see him doing anything that would make you feel like he does not support Black lives. That's, of course, going to lead into the conversation of Black Lives Matter, which was a movement and an organization with so much corruption. Donald Trump not supporting that organization doesn't mean that he doesn't support Black lives. It just means that he doesn't support the fraudulent organization that's stealing so much money from so many people to do absolutely nothing with it, nor does he support a destructive movement that is destroying cities, communities, lives, etc. So I don't see why someone would think that President Trump doesn't support Black lives.
I've heard him say he knows all the best Black people. He has all the best Black friends. I do support Black people all the time. So sorry, that was a very bad impression, but I don't think Donald Trump wants bad things to happen to Black people. So in that respect, I think he does support Black lives. But the other side of that is he's not really doing anything. He didn't do anything as president, certainly, to uplift Black people.
The economy affects Black people.
Yeah, I certainly disagree with that point. One of the biggest things I
What did he do for the
supported
economy?
personally, well, yeah, we don't we'll get into that one later. One of the biggest things he did is he secured permanent funding for HBCUs, one of the largest increases we ever saw for HBCUs, personally done by his administration, among many other things. The First Step Act, which, you know, there's a lot of debate about whether it was really the best thing to do, but that was definitely a kiss of love to the Black race. Freeing Alice Johnson for menial drug crimes she committed in the past that had her locked up. She did not get to see her family for years.
Yeah, but that's not like, okay, I did say I agree, but I agree in the sense that Donald Trump doesn't literally want bad things to happen to Black people, like I think a lot of conservatives do. So I think that he just says the most yeah, I do think that. I think he says the things that will get him elected. So I don't think that he has any personal grudges against most people. He just says the most popular thing. So I think like Ron DeSantis would be somebody that I think actually wants Black people to be hurt. So by that standard, yeah, Donald Trump supports Black lives by leaps and bounds.
You think Donald Trump says the most popular thing?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Then why do so many people hate him?
He got elected as president.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He didn't win the popular vote neither time.
That's a liberal talking point.
To say.
That's a liberal talking
I'm
point.
helping you here. I'm trying to see the logic in this. Obviously, he says things to be
not a liberal talking point. It's just reality. He did not win the popular vote. He won the electoral college, which means he won in the places that meant the most. You know what I mean? Like he won in the places that had the most electoral votes. That is what really matters in the republic. Okay, not who gets the most votes. I remember learning about this, and you should remember learning about this in school. Like, there's a reason why. Like, because if it's just who's the most popular person at the time who wins the vote, then it could be you never know. There could be mass psychosis. You know what I mean? There could be a mass psychosis, and the popular vote could vote in somebody like fucking Andrew Tate just because he's so popular. You know what I mean? Like, just because he's popular, he's going to be the president of the United States. Now he's going to be the leader of the free world or some shit like that. Like, no, that's why the electoral college exists. So that way there's another, like there's a backup to the popular vote. There's a backup, and that one takes precedence over the popular vote as well. So this liberal talking point, like, bro, we're having a conversation. What are you talking about, bro?
To be elected as a politician, very similarly to how Joe Biden did, except Joe Biden actually has a history of racism.
If he said things that people didn't like, he wouldn't have been our president.
So you like everything that Donald Trump says? You think everything he says is popular?
I love a lot of the things he says. I think he's hilarious. When he said big water, that was one of my favorite quotes. Big water.
Water, big water, ocean water.
He has the funniest one-liners, so I love a lot of the things he says. As far as policy, he sucks, but
I'm just shocked you're wearing a Hunter Biden hat. He likes a different kind of one line.
oh, I know conservatives love talking about his.
No, Coke. It's different. Coke, not
Bro, you're gay. Man, why are you gay? Man, why are you gay?
Get your free Thomas Sowell ebook, Trickle Down Theory and Tax Cuts for the Rich. So
Trump is less of the issue and more so the people that support him, like die hard. They facilitate that kind of like hate, I think, for a lot of people, not just black people, but like.
I mean, this man took out like a full page in a newspaper calling for the public execution of 5 black kids. His hotels, all of his businesses have rampant history of denying black people apartments or whatever. So
I forgot about that. I should not have stepped forward.
Look, I mean, Donald Trump cares about Donald Trump. So I don't think he really cares about anyone, I guess, unless you're like super rich or whatever.
When you look at his history on racial issues, whether it's the shithole countries comment, the plethora of comments he made about Mexican people, just the comments he's made about Muslims, the idea that Trump cares at all about some particular racial minority, I think is a little bit silly. I think Trump will say whatever he needs to say to rile up his base and to get elected.
I don't necessarily think those statements come from a place of hatred. I don't think he was ever saying specifically, oh, if you pray 5 times a day towards the east or towards Mega based on wherever you are, you're a bad person. I think he was saying if you like to fly planes into towers or behead people or throw people off of buildings, maybe you're not the most virtuous person out there.
I supported Trump because he made the economy good. And so the economy then impacted black people, white people, Latino people, it impacted everybody. But Trump, he didn't think specifically, I don't think, about black people. He thought about himself, and he thought about how can I make America great for me, and making and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go with this guy. And the reason I'm gonna go with this guy is because if he can make America great and he can make that it rise for everybody, I'm gonna benefit from that. So that's why I went, and that's why I voted for him. That's why I supported him.
How does that specifically benefit black people? Again, he's a businessman, but he's also a racist businessman, like well documented. So like, I just.
And Biden's not. Biden's not.
Yes, he is. He created the crime bill. So that's regardless of the
Well,
point.
address the Central Park 5. That's what you brought up, right? How do you feel about that?
Well,
he took that full
actually,
page out after they were
so I haven't.
He wanted them to be killed,
well,
executed, just because they were black.
That story.
And he
has nothing to do with the fact that those five dudes raped that white woman. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with them whooping her ass and raping her and raping a bunch of, or raping, excuse me. Damn, I'm off the YouTube algorithm now, whatever. Raping a bunch of breaking a bunch of people, you know what I'm saying? Raping a bunch of white women. It has nothing to do with that. It's just for the fact that they were black. That's it. That's all.
Or like renting apartments from all his like stupid Trump towers. I
think Trump at that point was, like many people in this room, particularly liberals, a victim of the media. I think he was scared. I think he was ashamed of the things that he heard in the news and wanted to take action himself as a businessman, not as a
Why
racist.
are you infantilizing him?
I don't like, also real quick, because people keep bringing up this comparison to the 93 crime bill from Biden. That crime bill, this was at the height of like violent crime and the crack epidemic in the United States. The Congressional Black Caucus supported that crime bill. Everybody in the United States supported that crime bill. The idea that that crime bill was like some racist piece of legislation that Biden was just wheeling out because he hates black people, and that's somehow comparable to the Donald Trump's treatment of the Central Park 5 that were already exonerated, that wasn't a victim of the media. The media said they were done. They were exonerated in court. They weren't there.
As I understand it, the prosecutor of the 5, he was a black guy, and so in being a black guy, he went and he looked at all the evidence and said these guys are guilty.
Black people can also be racist against other black people.
Or just make mistakes.
So if anybody does anything you disagree with in regards to the Central Park 5, even if they themselves are a black person, they're just a self-loathing black person, they're just a racist black person.
If they disagree
that
with me, they're
prosecutor was
racist.
doing his job.
Hey, yo. Hey, yo. What's going on right now? Come on now. Literally, somebody let me know. Am I in the fucking Twilight Zone right now? Am I fucking tripping right now? But he just said anybody that disagrees with me is a racist. This guy right here, the little black kid right here, right next to you, bro don't look no older than 19. So you're saying that he's a racist. The little 19-year-old, you know what I'm saying? 19, 20, 21-year-old black kid, you know what I'm saying? With his whole life ahead of him, who's only spitting straight fucking fire and facts at you. He's a racist because he doesn't agree with you. And that's just how you can, justify you not having any good points to make. Okay, makes sense.
That's my policy. If they disagree with me, they're racist.
I like that.
I
That's
think
so
Trump
unique.
is,
Yeah,
I
like
think
that's a
Trump
hilarious
has
policy.
shown a history of ignorant at best and racist at worst behavior. I didn't vote for him or Hillary because I just don't see him as a conservative hero. I don't even think he's a conservative.
Fake
personally.
conservative. I voted Trump in 2016, just so you all know. So I'm just saying.
So I need to I need you to elaborate on if people disagree with you, they're racist, just in general.
I was just
He's
kidding.
just, yeah.
You never know.
Just like
One
the
of those
hat.
kind of moments.
Sorry if I triggered you. I'm sorry.
You made
No,
a
I'm not
point.
sure. I just
You made
need
a
to know.
point
Okay.
a couple minutes back where you said he just kind of says these things to rile up his base. Why does he need to do that at the expense of black people then?
He doesn't do that at the. I am a member of his base, and I'm sitting there like, oh man, this is amazing. And I don't know. You can call me
So
self-loathing. You can call me
so
self-hating.
you're
you can call
saying
me
calling
racist.
for
I
the
can call you
public
stupid.
execution of 5 black men that were exonerated to
When has
rile
he
up
done
his
that
base?
during the campaign trail? He didn't do that when he was a politician.
Well,
he did that when he
again,
was a scared businessman in New York.
It's
feeling
everything
bad.
Steve said about the comments about Muslims, the comments about Mexican immigrants. Why
Not,
does he
never
need,
about Mexican immigrants, never about Muslims, about terrorists and about criminals and rapists.
I-
These are very important delineations to make. And if you believe
I
that
think
what
you
were fed the media
understand,
about,
or
oh, it's
I
all
think
Mexican immigrants, I think it's more of you being, oh man, these poor Mexicans, they need to be supported. It's more of that savior complex. Wow,
What was
we're
the
back
rationale
again.
behind axing or trying to axe DACA? Were these people were registered with the federal government? They were in school. They were doing everything that they needed to do. They had no home elsewhere. They were brought into this country as minors. Like, what's the explanation for
I
that?
think
Like,
that requires more nuance. Like I mentioned before, I
You
think
already
there were some
paid for their
people.
education.
I think
Why
there
would
were
you
some
wanna kick
people
them out?
feeding him bad policy advice, thinking, "Oh, this will be really good for your base," and he's doing a lot
You're
as a
just
president.
that's
infantilizing
okay.
him.
That's okay if we feel that way. But
So
at the end of the-
if I take responsibility for something, if I say he has responsibility for something, well then you're right. But if I'm saying, well, maybe there are some people around him advising him falsely,
Dude,
it's infantilizing.
he
him.
was the president.
There's no good way. to
He
root this
called
for
the
him.
shots. What are you talking about?
The only path forward to solving illegal immigration starts with amnesty for everybody here. The reality is there's some 10 to 15 million illegal immigrants here. We're not deporting them all.
With the people who are already here, that's a lot more of a messy, nuanced conversation. But as far as people come,
Hold on. I can't. Did he just say give amnesty to everybody that's here already? No. That's not going to work. Because how do you know? How are you going to enforce that? How are you going to enforce that? First of all, we honestly have no idea how many illegals there are. We have estimates and guesstimates, but we have no idea truly how many illegals are actually in the country. So if you just blanket give an amnesty to everybody that's here illegally, imagine 30 million people. 30 million people. Okay, 30 million people who weren't citizens from one day are now citizens, and they now affect the way that the country is going to go for the future. That is absolutely insane. That's actually insane. That's actually insane. That's an insane proposition.
coming in, I do think we need stronger borders and actual like vetting happening.
And I just want to say, in Ronald Reagan's day, he was given the promise. He said, "Look, if you go ahead and you pass this particular bill, we'll give these people amnesty and we're done." And it didn't happen. We didn't. Illegal immigration continued even after Reagan already said we will give these people amnesty. So that's why we get a burr up our butt, because he had already done it.
Hopefully the devil's giving him amnesty.
True.
That's terrible.
That's
not even. See, most of these people aren't even Christians. They're not Christians. They claim to be atheists. They claim that that the right wing is a bunch of white Christian nationalists and this, that, and the other, and that they don't actually love Jesus and this, that, because if you love Jesus, you wouldn't judge, and all this extra goofy ass shit that atheists love to pull out of their ass, when Jesus never said don't judge or just do not judge, period. He said judge, lest ye be judged. Okay? That means don't judge unless you're ready for that heat that's coming back at you. Because when you judge somebody, when you go out there into the world and you tell somebody, hey, I don't think you should be doing anything, I don't think you should be doing it like that, or I don't think you should be doing, they're going to come and they're going to bring it back the same way. And they're going to hit you the same way. They're going to judge you in the same way that you judge them, and maybe even worse than you judge them. So be ready for that. That's what Jesus was talking about. He wasn't just telling you don't judge people, because everybody's going to judge. We're humans. That's what we do. We judge. We have to use our discernment. And then these motherfuckers want to come through on the back end of that, and then try to use, every time they try to use Jesus's name, they try to use everything, and they try to use Christian and Judeo-Christian principles in order to condemn people, and then claim to be atheists, and then claim to be spiritual, and then claim to be something else. So I'm sorry.
That's base. Thank you.
Tasteless.
Ninth circle, baby.
My political beliefs have changed from the past.
Are you sick of having issues with your webinars, wasting tons of time on troubleshooting with attendees? If so, you need.
I grew up in a conservative household, actually, in Ohio. And my parents were always pretty political, so I always stayed political. I was very religious as a teenager. Sometime during college and then afterwards, especially during COVID, my sister actually indoctrinated me into a more leftist position. And I overcorrected a little bit.
That's where he fucked up. Does that make me a misogynist? I don't know. Cause that's, you let your sister indoctrinate you, nigga. I ain't never. I'm sorry, but my sister can't tell me nothing. None of them. Like none of my sisters can tell me a damn thing. And I love them all to death. You know what I'm saying? I'll take a bullet for them. I shoot a nigga for them. But yeah, they can't tell me a damn thing. They can't indoctrinate me to shit. You know what I'm saying? Well, okay, we see where his views came from, but all right.
I started becoming pretty cringy as far as like, sit down and let the minorities all talk, right? Don't say anything, don't speak over them, etc. They would, it was like the whole you can't speak over Candace Owens, even if she's literally a Nazi kind of thing. So I stand by that. So yeah, I kind of leveled out, thankfully, and I'm less cringe now.
Did you? Are you?
I cringed.
This is leveled out. Imagine if we would have been here a year ago.
I mean, maybe I am being cringe. Who cares?
So I grew up conservative, but I did have more left-leaning ideas about like Black Lives Matter and critical race theory. And I was watching a lot of YouTube, and I did agree that Black people were oppressed and all of these different things, and that we were kind of got the short end of the stick. And during 2020, when there was, everything crazy was happening, and I started organizing rallies against the mandates, because I thought that they were just totally unconstitutional and un-American. And then George Floyd dies, and initially I was like enraged like everybody else, and then it started to become this weird like political like agenda masquerading or behind his face. Like the face of what was actually happening started to peel off. And I was like, oh, I mean, I would counter protest BLM activists at my town square when I lived in Texas. And they were some of the most just bitter, vile, horrible people you could ever meet. Meanwhile, like the Confederate group that would protest there against them also, they were like the nicest people ever to me, ironically.
I grew up in
Ironically, right? I actually have a very similar story to her, because it was around that time too. Like, bro, take me 2 years ago, drop me 2 years ago, bro. If you were able to peek into my life 2 years ago, bro, or maybe 3 years ago now, yeah, 2023, damn, it's 2023 now. So yeah, about 3-4 years ago, bro, you take a look into my life back then, and then look at my life right now, okay? They're completely different people. I was a bum 3 years ago. I was a bum. I was a bum communist, bro. I was a communist, and I was okay with being a bum because I was a communist. Like that's just where I was. Like it was really COVID and like the George Floyd shit that like really like woke me up. Like, cause at first, like just like she said, I was outraged. Oh no, another one. Oh damn. And I'm mad. Jesus is good. because like there was like, you know, like he had made me have basically like put me in a situation where I had to go down to Mississippi, and like there were no protests down there for a while, and then when the protests finally started to act up out there, then I had to come back to Colorado because, you know, my son was about to be born and this, that, and the other, or my son was about to be born, and then so by the time that the protests kind of like like I just never was able to catch one, and I'm glad I didn't. You know what I'm saying? I think I think I did it for a reason. I think something bad would have happened to me if I would have been able to go down to one of these protests. But like that, it was during that whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Where I was just like, I don't know, man. Like this is weird. And then right after that, COVID happened. And then once COVID, like, because I remember actually sitting there and, you know, during the election season, during like politics, like I turn into a fucking nerd. I turn into an absolute, like, I turn into a fiend for politics. Politics is my whole day. It's the whole night. It's all I'm concerned about. Who's running? What did they say? How is this going to affect what I'm bringing policies? You know, I want to, because I take who I vote for very, very fucking seriously, and I take the people I get my information from very seriously, especially now. You know, so like one of those things where I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is strange. Like why? Like I remember seeing in the newspaper, not in the newspaper, but like I was just sitting there. I'm watching. I'm scrolling or something. I'm doing something. I think I was on Facebook or maybe it was Instagram, and I'm scrolling, and there was a post about some mysterious virus that's, you know, just popping up, or that just popped up somewhere. I think it just popped up in China or something like that. Or I forget where it said it had popped up. Right? It was something about a mysterious disease, and I keep scrolling. You know what I'm saying? And then that I remember because it was that same day that Kobe Bryant had died. Kobe Bryant died that day, and like shit just started to connect in a certain kind of way in those next few months that I swung from a lefty all the way to the right, like it all the way to the right. Like it was like it was an absolute like I'm telling you, bro. If you look at me 3 years ago, I had my afro. I was Mr. Blackity Black, Mr. Black Panther. You know what I'm saying? I was equipped with a full bumness. You know what I'm saying? I'm sleeping on my homies' couches and shit like that. You know, like full out bum, and I didn't give a fuck. You couldn't tell me nothing about. You couldn't tell me nothing. You couldn't tell me shit. Okay, because at the end of the day, I was oppressed. My ancestors were oppressed, so I don't have to work hard. Okay, I don't have to work hard because my ancestors did all the hard work. My ancestors did all the hard work, so I don't have to work hard. I don't have to do nothing. I don't have to, you know, go out and fucking compete in this world and actually bring home the bacon. No, why would I do that when I can just complain, just sleep on people's couches, and you know, I can just do that. You know, it's easier. You know, it's just more, it's much more fun. You know, I feel interesting. You know, I'm Mr. Blackity Black. I'm Mr. Egypt. Look, I got Nefertiti on my arm. Look at me. Like I'm. That was me. You know, like and now, like just a couple of years later, yeah, my political beliefs definitely have changed a lot.
In a democratic, not a democratic household, but kind of apolitical, but everybody was Democrat. And then I got a job. And when I got a job and I saw all the taxes come out and I started looking to the left and to the right and going, oh, my money's whittling away over here. And I said, you know what? After Reagan, I'm just going to go ahead and declare myself a Republican. And I've been a Republican ever since.
My mom is pretty liberal. She married my stepdad when I was like 15, 16 in high school, and he's super conservative, like loved Trump, diehard Trump fan. And they had a lot of like back and forth, hearing the two sides, like people who are on such polar opposites, just like argue all the time about stuff, seeing that there's a lot of similarities in both sides, like the far radical left and the far radical right. They have a lot of similarities. They just don't want to come and like see it.
I started off actually kind of similar to you. I went to a Jesuit high school. I grew up very conservative. My mom is Cuban, so ride or die Bush supporter, who is now a ride or die Trump supporter. I think the point in my life when I was the most like libertarian was probably the lowest point in my life financially. And I think it's because something that conservatives do really well is
I don't remember Trey who? Trey who? Put put his last name in the comments because I don't remember this person. I don't like like I'm not saying it happened because it doesn't really happen often. It's just that every time it happens, it gets so you know uh like so much media coverage every time a black person is killed by a white cop or a white dude or anything like that. Every time there's some black on white or white on black, not really black on white, but mostly white on black issues. You know what I'm saying? Like it's then you know shot to the moon. It's just like it. Sometimes it just bleeds together. So go ahead, put his last name in there. The hoodie. Stuff. Someone opened his door and used his gun. Oh, you talking about Trayvon Martin? We can actually go in. We can actually go in on that. We can actually go in on that because I think that there's some facts about that situation that not a lot of people are privy to. Um, I'm not saying that either one of them was in the right or the wrong. I think George Zimmerman probably shouldn't have gotten off. Uh, just based on how I'd all right, look, bro, like the police told you not to follow him, the UC kept following him, this, that, and the other. But like technically, he got his ass whooped so bad that it was like like I'm trying to tell you, he got his ass whooped bad, like so bad that he believed that he was going to be killed, and that's the reason why he used his gun. Stupid. He put himself in that situation, but like even if somebody is following you, even if somebody is doing that, like what you need to do from that point is call the police, say, hey, there's somebody following me. You don't just go outside and start whooping their ass and beat them half to death. You don't do that. You can't do that. Okay. And you might get shot, right? You might get shot and you might go down. Like that's just what ended up happening. And like I said, I don't think either of them were in the right in that situation. I think Trayvon should have called the police if he felt, scared. I understand, and I think George Zimmerman should have went about his fucking merry way. But so I think George should be in prison. But like, I'm not going to necessarily, he got let go. He got whooped that bad. He got whooped. He got his ass whooped so bad that the jury felt that bad for him that they let him go. That's what happened there. So yeah, uh, but I agree though. I understand. I understand. Like that's what got me into like the whole BLM thing. Remember that's around the time that it actually started. It was BLM, or it was Trayvon, and then it was the Michael White thing that happened, or the Michael Brown. It was one Michael Brown. I believe it was Michael Brown. The hands up, don't shoot in Ferguson, right? That's where it really started to kick off. I remember that straight. I remember Young Communist B. You know what I'm saying? Young Communist J. I was out there. You know what I'm saying? I walked out. We saved the walk out in the school. We walked out to the highway. Just a bunch of badass kids. But yeah, let's go ahead and get back into the video. Thanks for commenting, milady. Thanks for commenting.
Is they make you feel like you can always like succeed as long as you work hard enough. And that's something that progressives and liberals suck at, that you're a victim of systemic racism, you're black, so you're going to be discriminated against, you're a woman, so nobody's going to care about your feelings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas Republicans will tell you, listen, if you work hard, you can do whatever you want, like just as long as you're willing to put in the work. And I felt that way up to the moment where I was losing my house, where I had an ex-girlfriend that was pregnant, where I had been fired from my previous job. There was a whole bunch of horrible stuff going on in my life. And I very, very luckily got into online content creation. And from there, as I started to make more money, I started to pay more taxes. When I get older and I look at taxes that come out of my paycheck, I care a little bit, but it was just so funny to me that back when I was making 15, 20,000 a year, I'm like, I got to vote for the lower tax bracket, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm barely paying any taxes anyways. And, now that I'm older, like if the government wants to take, a few, 10, 20, whatever, how many more $1,000 out.
You just said you worked hard.
I did, but I got very, very, very lucky doing so. Very lucky.
Do you think it's just luck?
It's not just luck, but the difference is that born into a wealthier family, you can make so many more mistakes in life. And when you're born poor, you get like one or two before your life is over. And that's really sad to me.
Yeah, so I used to be a liberal.
I disagree, but we'll keep going.
I voted for Bernie Sanders in 2016, as much as I regret that now. My family was pretty left wing. Some of the people in my family were like radically left, like would refer to white people as blue-eyed, redheaded devils, things of that nature. And as I got older, I actually started being really outspoken for BLM. I was supposed to be on a reality show teaching people how to be a BLM activist. at the time, I did a deep dive on BLM and I started to realize all of these lies. So then I took a step back. I'm like, okay, what else am I being lied to about? And I started looking at the Democratic Party and questioning my own loyalty to being on the left.
I personally think both sides tend to be racist in different ways. I don't think the government is on the side of the people in general, and that's just me being, a radical.
When I was young, I used to jump for joy and say, oh yeah, Obama, black president, that's so amazing. He's the same color as me. But when I started to do more research, one of the biggest things I was confused about is, well, why is he a Democrat? What is a Democrat? I did more research about the Democrat Party. And sure, you guys are going to pop off about the head saying, oh, there's a party switch in the Southern strategy and all these things.
Which is true.
Which you may say is true. I don't believe it is true at all.
You're
I
wrong.
understand, you may think I'm wrong.
You are.
However, one of the biggest questions I had was, why is Obama in the same...
Let's just shut the fuck up. How about that? Man, I wish I was on this panel. Hey, yo, Jubilee. Hey, yo, Jubilee. Come get your boy. Hold on. Let me turn my light on so y'all can actually see me. I feel like I'm getting darker and darker and darker. Let me turn my light on. Jubilee. Let me get my solo cam on. Let me get my solo cam on real quick. Let me get my solo cam on. Jubilee. Hear me and hear me clear. Get me on one of these motherfuckers. Put me on one of these events because there's no way, bro. There's no fucking way, bro. You're not gonna speak to me like that. You're not gonna talk to me like that. You're not gonna shut me down. All right. You're not gonna. No. You're not. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is the problem. This is the problem with these white liberals. Okay. This is the issue with these white liberals. You can't even shut the fuck up for 3 minutes, for 2 minutes to just hear another opinion out, to hear another, like you'll just say, oh, nope, you're wrong. Not even, well, why do you think that? Why? What is the evidence that you have that makes you believe that the southern switch or the party switch didn't necessarily occur? What's your proof of that? That would be the way to go, right? That would be the way to go. But he doesn't do that. Just, you're wrong. You may say I'm wrong. No, you are. You're wrong. Fucking piece of shit. This is why this. I'm glad. I'm so glad that I'm not a fucking communist anymore, man. Like, I hated getting talked down to like this.
The same party as the people that started the KKK, the same people that voted against the Civil Rights Act, the same people that are on the news talking about how black people aren't able to accomplish anything and need to be on welfare and need to be promoted with affirmative action and things of that nature.
I also, in terms of, I guess, of my political journey, I was raised conservative, actually. And then high school became, I guess, sort of apolitical. And then throughout college and I guess just throughout my life since then, I guess you can call me a progressive, you can call me, socialist, whatever you, but I guess that's, in the area of where I fall. You said that you were a Bernie fan in 2016, and then you transitioned to being, I guess, more conservative. I guess, I don't know, to me, Bernie Sanders, from what he said to what you think now, what was the shift?
For me, it was socialism, because back then I was a very broke college kid and I just had this mentality that everything should be free. And I was feeling a bit entitled, like everything should be handed to me because I was black, because I was very much.
I was a bum. I was a brokey. I was like, hey, I don't have to work hard. Hey, all I need, honestly, is reparations. Who's talking about reparations? Because if I'm getting reparations, then I don't need to work. What I need to work for? I'm going to get reparations. I'm good. They're going to make college free. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. They're going to make college free, right? They gonna make or not Joe Biden, excuse me. Fuck that, never voted for him. I'm gonna vote for Bernie. He gonna make college free. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be able to have affordable housing and all these good government benefits, and I'm gonna be able to live my life and just be a bum off the government dollar. Yes, sir.
Very much in that mentality. As I learned more about free markets, as I learned more about capitalism, I started to appreciate that much more. I started to appreciate small business much more, limited government, low regulations. I just started to like that much more. But I would say just more when it comes to economics, I don't agree with him.
Reparations are necessary.
I knew it.
When we talk about reparations, I think that doing reparations in the way that a lot of people think of it, where we just give it to Black people, I'm not an expert on this, but I think it would be more income-based, and that in itself, like I said earlier, would disproportionately benefit Black people, because if you recognize that they are disproportionately affected by a systemic injustice, then doing it on like a class level would uplift proportionally more Black people than white people or any other race.
Yeah, I think like the mostly like Black GIs that were left out of like the New Deal, for instance, that to be able to come back and as a white American, as a white veteran, to get a home loan and then build that generational wealth, you could not get that as a Black American. So there needs to be, I think, reparations. I don't care really what form it comes from. I think free healthcare, free college, so that everyone has like an equal opportunity to educate themselves, to build a better life for themselves. So it's sort of like, and I think Germany is also a perfect model to follow. You know, by issuing, first of all, a formal apology.
I don't know what they mean to do it, but they love Germany. Notice how white liberals love Germany. I don't know if they mean to do it personally. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's, but there's some kind of allegiance that white liberals have to Germany, and you know, all these Nordic, you know, mostly white countries, right? Whenever they say, "Oh, well, what's a country that you think is doing it right? That you think America should more model itself after," right? They never say something like, "Oh, well, you know, there's this African country, or you know, Saudi Arabia or the UAE or something like that," right? They don't ever say nothing like that. They don't ever say something like a place like Thailand, they don't ever go anywhere like that. They don't ever say nothing like that. They always talk about, oh, we love the spirituality of those places, but every time they're like, what place should we model America after? They're like, oh, the mostly white European Nordic countries. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's who we should. Yeah, that's who we should be like. Like, no, I'm not racist. I'm just saying we should be more like those mostly white countries over there. You know what I'm saying? Like this. Yeah, yeah. Where there's significantly less Black people, like next to no Black people. Yeah. We should be more like them. I like that. I like that model. That model makes sense to me. I don't know if they do it on purpose. I think it's a subconscious thing, right? Subconscious. Yeah, there's more white people over there, so we should be more like them. Right? We should be more like them. These are white supremacists sitting right here. 1 and 2, white supremacists. And Destiny back there too. And I already told you, Shorty back there, she's a closet conservative. She don't agree with nothing that these motherfuckers are talking about. She came because she was like, let me see if I truly believe what these motherfucking Black conservatives are talking about. Why she's about to come out here with all of them and just agree. You know what I'm saying? They agree. She agrees. Obviously, they agree. Look, reparations aren't necessary. I can get it. I can get it out the mud. You know what I'm saying? I'm competitive. I'm not the most competitive guy on earth, but I'm competitive enough to get it out the mud. This is all me. This is all me. I did this. You know what I'm saying? 3 years ago, I was a bum. I'm telling you, I was sleeping on couches. Sleeping in other people's cars, not even my own shit. Other people's cars. Broke as fuck. Look at me now. We getting somewhere. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting out the mud. I don't need no motherfucking body.
Which we haven't even done that. But also just like donating to like different funds, and you know, just I think a more equitable society, striving for that, is reparations in and of itself.
I have no problems with reparations if they had happened initially during the like slavery or the civil rights movement or any of that. But to try and do that now logistically just doesn't really make any sense. And like, where would this money come from? Like, we're in so much debt as a nation. Would I get this money? I'm biracial or triracial. Like, do mixed people get it? And like, do Irish people get reparations when they were indentured servants?
I think for reparations, if you can find specific instances of somebody being like actually deprived of something, whether specific instances of like the 40 acres and a meal promise, or whether you can find specific cases of like Chinese people building railroads or Irish people, or whatever, people being deprived of things, that's okay. But otherwise, yeah, it's a logistical nightmare. There's no possible way that we'd be able to do it well.
Yeah, America's unique because we have bent over backwards for decades now, putting minorities in a position of privilege. I feel like we have done so much to give back to the communities that were obviously wronged. And I agree with both of you. Like, had this happened a long time ago, I would understand it. If we had specific incidences that we could trace where people were just completely screwed over, I would respect it. But right now, I don't deserve a payment for something my great grandparents went through. And I don't think that white people are responsible for paying that to me either.
I know we don't want to use the word virtue signaling, but it's sort of like a bribe for a vote in a way, at least in my opinion. In states like California, where they've been throwing around the idea of, oh, we want to pay out this much money to every black citizen in there in this state, it's like, oh, are you serious? Because this is kind of like a joke, in my opinion.
I think that if we impose reparations now, I think it would rip America apart. I think that we're already separated enough as it is, and now you're going to have people walking around going, "You owe me money. You owe me money. I'm not paying you any money." It would just really rip us apart.
Giving somebody money doesn't mean anything if they don't know what to do with the money or how to handle the money. So if the primary issue in Black
Facts. One thing I'm learning as you know, as I mature, as I get older, and you know, I think a lot of people will agree with this and kind of or at least relate to this in some sense, is that, you know, as a kid, you know, you think houses fall from the fucking sky. You know what I'm saying? You think them bitches grow on trees and shit, man. You can just go and get wherever you can and just live and just be good. You don't think about the actual work that goes into, you know, maintaining a job, maintaining a home, maintaining, you know, a family. You don't actually think about all the things that come with like being an adult, you know, like actually making money, right? Like if you don't know how to handle $100, what are you gonna do with $1,000,000? If you could squander $100, what are you gonna do with $1,000,000? It means nothing. All it is extra money, and you're gonna be broke by the end of the week. You're gonna be broke by the end of the week. That's why lottery winners, no matter how much money they win, whether it's from $1,000,000 all the way up to in the hundreds of millions of dollars, they always go broke. 97% of the time plus. 97, because these are people that have spent their whole lives gambling, or just hoping and praying and just waiting for that opportunity to get that ticket and make it and get, you know what I mean? And as soon as they get it, boom, all of a sudden you got $47 million in the bank. One day you had 47 cents, the next day you have $47 million in the bank. That is a big jump. That's a big change. That's a big shift. You're gonna treat it like you're in the candy shop. You're not thinking about investing because you ain't never thought about investing before. Even if you did think about investing, you didn't. Like you didn't, right? You thought about it, but you didn't. You know, you waited and you sat on it and you spent your money on something else that probably you don't even use no more. It doesn't matter no more. Like that's what happens. So that's why I believe personally, yeah, like I said, I used to want the shits, but now I'm like, yeah, I don't want no kind of handout because I'm just gonna squander. Like if I until I get to a place where, you know, I'm actually working hard and like the money that I'm making is equivalent to the work that I'm putting in, like that is what to me is gonna be, you know, like the ultimate shift. I don't, and I have to work to get up there so I can actually appreciate it. Like I didn't appreciate the places that I used to live when I was sleeping on the motherfucker's couch. I didn't appreciate that shit. I was kind of grateful, right? But to me, since I was a bum, I was just growing trees. You'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? It's extra space. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's only me sleeping on the couch. Like, it's not even that much. It's not even that big of a deal, right? It's not even that big of a deal. Yeah, it's just me eating up some of the food. Who cares, right? Who cares? It's not that big of a deal. We're just chilling, right? Like, it, why you going to work today? Like, we can hang out. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to get reparations. Like, this is how you think. And so imagine how you gonna think when you just have $47 million just randomly drop it to your motherfucking bank account. You're gonna drink yourself to death. You're gonna kill yourself. Like you're gonna delete yourself, bro. Like immediately. You gotta think about this shit logically, bro. Logically.
Black culture or with Black people is generational trauma, then maybe they need more therapy than they need money, honestly.
Which conservatives are also against.
Well, that's kind of my argument. Like, if there is like that, like generational trauma or whatever, like I think examples of like free healthcare, they could see a therapist and not be, fall into debt. And I think the argument of like the logistical nightmares of it, I think if we want to pay for something in this country, we usually find a way to do it, especially when it comes to the military. So, I mean, we pay for multi-billion-dollar
It's
jets
not
all
the
the
dollars,
time.
it's who's supposed to get them.
Not to attack progressives, but that is like the most progressive idea in the world. Is like I can see the headlines like reparations voted on in Congress to be paid in the form of free therapy for people in the hood. That just sounds like the funniest thing in the world. But
well, I also don't think it's gonna come directly from like white person to black person. Like, oh, your lineage affected his lineage.
It is though. Like in San Francisco, they were going to raise the average family or the average household in San Francisco was expected to pay $600,000 each with the $5 million per black person proposal that they had. And I used to live in the San Francisco Bay Area and I was repulsed by that because you have so many homeless veterans on the streets and they were going to give black people a home for as little as $1 just for being black. Mind you, slavery wasn't even in California. So why that was going to be the case, like I don't understand, but it's extremely unrealistic to think that the average family in San Francisco can afford that.
That's because Newsom wants to get reelected.
Okay, but you don't really care
Precisely.
about homeless veterans, right?
That's just
you
a
don't
laughable
support.
idea.
You don't
I
know
feel like
me.
all your arguments are ad
But
hominem.
you're here as
Literally
a
every
conservative.
single one ad
You're here as a
hominem.
conservative. So what policies do you support for homeless veterans?
There's ways to address, I mean,
Specifically.
for homeless in general.
That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say that we didn't find a middle ground in there.
Yeah.
All right.
But that's a great ending note.
White liberals have a savior.
I'll tell you how we get the homeless people off the streets. Because they ain't want to get into it. Let your boy coach and let you know how to. Let me come into my solo cam real quick. Let me pop into my solo cam real quick and feel free to comment. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all leave a like and all that good stuff. Let me come in my solo. So this is how we get the homeless off the streets. All right. We get them. We okay. This is gonna sound fucked up, all right? But it is what it is. You gotta get them off the street. You gotta police force and get them out of there. You know what I'm saying? Get them out of there. 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 You know, like they're gonna have to. You're gonna have to move one way or the other. I came from nothing. I had nothing. There was a time where I had nothing to my name. $0, no house, no car, no nothing, no friends, no homies, no nothing. And what did I do? I dug my motherfucking heels in the dirt, nigga, and I got my motherfucking self to work, nigga. That's what I did. That's what I did. That's what I did. That's what I did. If you are forced to move, okay, if you're not incentivized to stay in the rut that you're in, then there's no way you're gonna stay there. If you give a homeless person $100 on the street just for being homeless, they're gonna think being homeless is not too bad. You know, hey, I got $100 for being homeless. You know, people. I used to talk to the homeless. You know, I was homeless, so I used to talk to the people. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, how you guys make it out here? Oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? I panhandle a little bit. I got my sign. You know, I chill out. I got my tent. I got my whole little setup over there. We got snacks. We got drinks. We got all this and that. We got drugs and everything. You know what I'm saying? We got everything we need over there. So we come out here. We get our money right. I think I remember seeing homeless dudes walking around with wads, bro. Wads. Like, you pulling out wads of cash. This thick, bro. This thick. Just boom. For some drugs real quick. You know what I'm saying? Get some weed real quick. Get some coke real quick. Get some pills real quick. Get some speed real quick. Something. Get something real quick. And just pull out the wad real quick. Pull up back to the tent. You know what I'm saying? That's somewhere under the bridge or somewhere in the alley, somewhere in one of the public parks, somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, pull up some over there in their little tent and they'll just chill. They'll kick it. They batten down the hatches during the winter, throw all their blankets on top of their tents. I know how they work. They throw all the blankets on top of the tents. You know what I'm saying? Then they get the igloo effect, so it's nice and warm on the inside. We've been living on this planet for thousands of years. We've learned to adapt in every situation. So the only way that you're going to get them off the streets and get them get them to want to actually make something better and do something better, because they're comfortable. They're comfortable. I was comfortable. I was mad, but I was comfortable, bro. I was comfortable. I was comfortable being a bum. They're comfortable being bums. They're comfortable being homeless. Okay? Like, they're actually comfortable. If they weren't comfortable, you know what you do when you're uncomfortable? You fucking move. You move. Okay? You fucking you get going. There's a fucking fire that's lit on your ass. It's like, you gotta fucking start moving. Like, hey, bro, I gotta do something. I gotta do something. So my proposal: cut all incentives for homeless people. Not all, maybe, you know what I'm saying? Maybe leave a little something just in case, right? Leave a little tiny safety net, and don't go no higher. Just a little tiny safety net, just a bit of something, just in case, right? Cut all that shit. Only nonprofits are allowed to stay. Only the nonprofits. Okay, the ones that get donations. But all the government funding, gone. Government housing, gone, nigga. Private. It's all privatized now. All that shit, gone. Okay, because if they're not waiting on, Section 8, if they're not waiting on, you know what I'm saying, the next meal from the next government facility, oh, I can sleep here at the shelter, you know what I'm saying, one night I can take my shower, you know what I'm saying, go into the 7-Eleven, get my little shit sink bath on. If they can't do that, then they have to move. They have to do something. And think about how many jobs, and think about how cheap homes are now. Because governments, when they're in competition with the private system, right? When the government housing is in competition with private real estate, wherever the government's at, they get to set their prices wherever they are. Because why? Because they're the fucking government. They don't have to worry about nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's coming out the taxpayers' ass anyway, so who cares? So they could set their prices and their rent however they want to. Motherfuckers out here paying $25 for rent. Motherfuckers living in the house for free. Motherfuckers living on, like, shit that we fucking wish we could live by. And so the people that are right down the street from there, now they got to pay an extra premium because they like everybody's trying to get over there. So the landlords, they got to make their money somewhere, right? They got to make their money somewhere, so they're not gonna get it from the Section 8 people, right? So you got to cut all that shit off. Welfare, all that, cut it off, nigga. Cut it off. That's the only way you're gonna fix it. That's the only way you're gonna fix it. And will some people, you know what I'm saying? Hey, some people might not make it, but people aren't making it now. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta give people a reason to actually get out there and want to do something. Unshackle them. Give them a reason. Give them a way to start some businesses. You know what I'm saying? But these motherfuckers are out here panhandling. These niggas are out. Some of the best salesmen I ever met on the streets. On the streets, nigga. Imagine they could just start up their own little businesses. You know what I'm saying? But they can't because you got regulations on this. There's a glass ceiling that you got to break through You know what I'm saying? You got to have this much money so you can get your startup. You got to have this much money so you can do this, so you can do that. If you want to become a taxi driver or you want to start your own taxi company or something like that, you got to pay $100,000 so you can get a taxi medallion, and you got to go to the taxi classes, get your license, your registrations, and all that extra bullshits from the government. Besides your own driver's license and all that shit, because you already know how to drive. Right? Like there's so many barriers that we got around here, and the only thing that these motherfuckers can think about is, oh yeah, just give them some money, and they'll be good. That's, like, look, there's so many other ways that we can go. There's so many other issues that we need to talk about, and the only thing that you can say, the only thing that you think about, right, is, oh yeah, just give them some money. They'll be all right. Just give them some money. Just give them some more money. Money. Oh yeah, you got the white dude with the glasses, kind of like I gotta change my glasses now. I don't want to look like these motherfuckers no more. I'm about to change my glasses, man. Like, but he has kind of glasses like my bro. He's sitting there talking about some. Let me go back. Let me show you what he said. He says some fucking go back and show it.
If we want to pay for something in this country, we usually find a way to.
If we want to pay for something in this country, we usually find a way. But that's the issue. That's the issue. Okay. Whenever we want something in this country, especially if it's for the military, what do? We pull it out of our ass. Okay. We're taking it alone now. All right. And that's the fucking problem. We're in so much motherfucking debt, and then like it's only getting worse. It's only getting worse. The debt's only getting higher. It's only getting worse, bro. Like so, and you want to do more? You want to bring out more? We're not talking about cutting. We're not talking about cutting spending so that we can save money, because that's how you save money is you don't spend money. Either you have teams or you have money in the bank account, and that's that. But like there's so many other new ways and the nuance that we can apply in this certain situation. And the one thing that they have in their brains is because they never made money, because they don't have to do anything. Because, like he said, when you come from rich and this and that, and the background and this that, you don't necessarily have to think exactly. They never had to think about that. They're privileged. They never had to just give them some money. They'll be all right. Because when their parents give them money, they know what to do with it. Like when their parents give them money, they know what to do with it, kind of, right? So they assume that everybody's the same, and that's not true. Most people, when they get money, they're going to fucking squander it. They're going to go spend it on drugs. They're going to go spend it on shit that they want, not shit that they need. That's what it is. Let's get back to the video. I've been ranting long enough.
To do it, especially.
Don't know
I
me.
feel like all your arguments are
But-
ad
but you-
hominem.
but you're here
Literally
as a
every
conservative.
single one
But
ad
you're here as a
hominem.
conservative. So what policies do you support for homeless veterans?
There's ways to address. I mean,
Specifically.
for homeless in general.
That's a whole different conversation.
Okay, let's say that we didn't find a middle ground in there.
Yeah.
All right.
But that's a great ending note.
White liberals have a savior complex.
So Bespoke Post, they just send you a cool box every month.
Wow.
The value of every box is
Well, I gotta say, this is a shock. I never expected all four of you to just come forward and admit it, but you know what? I'm happy with these results.
I just think it's a lot of people, I guess, people, of the left, whatever, can kind of fall into that trap of thinking that, Black people as a monolith need to be saved as a whole.
I have no shame about it. I have a savior complex as an older brother, and I will save you whether you like it or not. So that's just.
Okay, hey, at least he admits it. He believes that he is a white superiority. He said he's a white savior. He's a white savior. Is that not a white supremacist? Is it not the same thing? Is it not exactly the same thing? You believe that you are the white savior of Black people. So you believe that you are somehow superior to black people by definition of men, right? Like right? Like you have to be the savior of somebody. You have to be better than them in some way. Right? 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 Am I a clown? Am I retarded here? Like what's going on? Like in order to even get to this like level of insanity that this guy is on, you have to be like the ultimate narcissist, and he obviously is. He's a narcissist, right? And you know, at the same time, like extremely insecure about his whiteness, okay? Because that's all he has to offer. All he has to offer is his whiteness and his Hunter Biden hat. Like that's it. His political views and his edgy, you know, cringy white guy. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, I'm edgy. Yeah, I'm the savior. You know, I'll even if you don't know it, even if you don't, even because I know you're uneducated. You know, I know that you guys are just sitting here. You guys are just confused, right? You guys are just confused as black conservatives. You don't actually believe in conservatism. You're just confused. So, me personally, as your savior, I will save you since I am superior to you. I will save you. That is what he's saying. I want to hear what the fuck. Oh my goodness.
Just me.
Well, it's definitely not, because a lot of us are really just exhausted of being viewed as our skin color. Because when you have this mindset that you need to save black people and we're just sitting here minding our own business and living our lives the way we want to, I don't know why it is that people feel this immense pressure to be so apologetic and just always trying to cater and coddle to black people when we just want to be treated like everybody else. We're equal for a reason.
I think especially recently with a lot of riot stuff that's gone on or protest stuff that's gone on, people on the left tend to infantilize a lot of different types of protesters, and especially even talking to, some of the other black content creators I do content with, when you hear a lot of progressives come out and say, well, they don't have a choice but to riot or break into the store, or, well, they're stealing, these electronics or shoes for good reasons, you just don't realize it. I think a lot of people kind of look both ways, and it's a little bit weird that there's such a complex on the left to excuse like every single possible negative behavior from somebody, as long as they're a skin color that you're kind of in charge of protecting.
I find that very offensive.
Yeah.
I find
It's
it
really
extremely,
insane.
it upsets me to hear that, because we're just like you. We just have a different skin color. And to hear that you have to help me is offensive to me. I can do it on my own.
Well, we have to break down sometimes why these riots happen. MLK once said that riots are the voice of the unheard. So if you are to address the problem and stop the riots, you have to address the underlying inequality that has historically been pervasive. Even if
How do you do that? Just throw some more money at it. Just throw some money at them. Just let them dance. Throw some money at it. Like, just in a strip club, just throwing some money at it. You got 304s on the Instagram. Just throw some money at it. Just whatever. Who cares? Don't actually talk about the mental health problem. Talk about mental health, but only when it's about you, or only when it's kind of like only on the surface level, not actually getting to the actual fucking problem, the actual root cause of everything that's going on. No, none of that. We're gonna stay on the surface, and if they ask for anything, just throw some money at the niggas and just tell them to shut the fuck up. I am your savior.
if you as individual people are doing fine and you don't want anybody else to get in the way of that, that's cool.
If you as individual people, how else do we live? How else do we see? We are a collective monolith in his mind. In his mind, black people are one. We're one. We're just one, and we need help, and we're all the same. We're all the same. Every single black person up there, yeah, they all look at Destiny's face right now. Look, I'm glad Destiny is here. Actually, I'm actually glad Destiny's here. Destiny's pretty smart. I don't agree with his political viewpoints, obviously, but he is a pretty smart guy. He's a pretty logical guy, right? So, but just let's look at his face. He's embarrassed to be white and sitting next to him. Right? He's embarrassed to be both white and sitting next to another white liberal right now next to him. Look, you're making my boy Destiny look like a fool. He can do it on his own. but he can do it on his own. Look at him.
Cool, and I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to be the one to get in the way, but the disparities are undeniable.
So if you take pride in having like a white savior complex, what is it that you think that you're doing to save
white pride
Black people, and what is it that you think that you're saving Black people from?
I am trying to make the world a better place through whatever means I can, and
But you're doing it on the backs of us.
I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, I actually do. I feel like you want to be a savior for, and you're using me to make yourself feel good. That's what I'm
How am I
hearing.
hurting you?
You're not letting me have my own voice. You're not letting me speak.
You're interrupting her. That's how, bro. You're not even listening to her speak. You're not even listening. How am I making you feel uncomfortable? Huh? How? Again, all in her face. How, bro? How am I making you feel uncomfortable? How am I making you? Why? How? Why are you feeling that way? How? Bro, back the fuck up. Chill the fuck out. Let mama speak. Okay? Let mama speak. Let her do her thing.
Ow, you're speaking now?
Yeah,
you're cutting her off.
Yeah.
Bro.
Well, I feel like I have to.
Yeah. Well,
I feel like I have to because you feel like you're superior, bro. Exactly. You feel like you feel like you have to correct her because in your mind you're right, and there's no way that you can be wrong because you're white, and what's right and what's right is right, and that's just what it is. Until in my mind you're on my level, okay? Until in my mind you're on my level, we will never. Well, that's what he said. It's so crazy. He's literally like, this is the admittance. This is the admittance. Okay, this is how most of them feel. This is, if you're an actual white liberal and not like Shorty was in the back, okay, who's not really a white liberal. She's a closet conservative who just came out here and now she feels comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Acting like a black conservative, or acting like or being a conservative. You know, because there's black conservatives here. But this is what they believe. They believe that black people are this poor, fucking like downtrodden, like nobody, like the only way that they can help is by getting the other bad white people out the way. Because by being the good white people, you got to be the good white man. The only way to get black people right is by you stepping in front and being the savior, being the soldier that they need in this time. You know, like it's the same spirit, bro. Like, yeah, you're black. You can't do it on your own. You can't do it on. You need me. You need me. You need Alec. You need me. I'm Alec. You need your boy. You need me. I don't need you, but you need me. That's what you don't understand, Blackie. That's what you don't understand. Okay? That's why I feel like I have to interrupt you. Because you don't understand. Okay? See, here's the problem with you, Blackie. Okay? Look. You don't understand that there's a system in place. Okay? And in this system, white people are on top. And black people are all the way down here at the bottom. In you, system, you will never, ever be able to rise to the top or rise anywhere near or get anywhere close to me unless I let you, motherfucker. Unless I let you. Unless I take my motherfucking foot off your throat, you will never, ever find a way out. That is what it is. It is the same fucking spirit, bro. It's the same spirit. It's the same shit, bro. This is bro. I feel like I'm in the twilight zone right now, but I know I'm not. I know I'm not. Like, cause it's insane. When it's every time I hear it actually being vocalized. You know what I mean? Like it's I just hear it. I hear that her. You know, I just hear him getting ready to call me, and you know, like. Right, I feel it. I feel the nukes. Every time we start speaking, niggas be like, all right, yeah, man, you ain't never gonna. Bro, I feel the noose. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it, bro. Listen to him speak. Why is he interrupting this black lady and this not even a black lady. I don't even call that. This is American, okay? This is American woman. Okay? I bet I bet he'll call Andrew Tate a misogynist though. If Andrew Tate was talking over a woman and cutting her off, talking about, oh, well, I feel like I have to. I feel like I have to. I bet he'd call Andrew Tate Professor Fit misogynist. I bet he'd call me a misogynist, but he's the misogynist right now and the racist, cutting off the black woman, talking about because I have to. And this is an American. This is another American that's sitting across from him. Insane, bro.
What's happening? I mean, you're speaking right now. You're speaking right now in this particular setting. But what you're saying is, like, you took it back to riots and so forth, and it makes it seem like the only way that we as Black people can have a voice is by riots, and then you need to come along and you need to say, okay, poor little Black child, let me help you, let me help you. That's offensive to me, and I feel like you're making yourself feel good about trying to help us. And
I also think that, like, when we talk about damage, I think especially when it comes to a lot of the shoplifting stuff that's going on in certain cities, you get a lot of white people that live in nice suburbs saying things like shoplifting is no big deal, that's fine. And then you'll catch YouTube videos of them later on being in a Walgreens in like a shoddy neighborhood, and they're like, man, why is the deodorant behind a locked case? It's very easy to sit behind a gated community and say, oh, well, it's not a big deal. They steal because they have to. Riots are the language of the unheard. I think people haven't read the full context of that quote. When MLK was saying riots were the language of the unheard, and you need to address the underlying condition, he wasn't condoning the rioting. He was just understanding it.
Obviously, there are a bunch of white people that feel they need to be a savior, but I think there's a difference between helping and saving. Like, I don't think I would need to save Black people, but I would tremendously love to help and make sure everyone has like.
So scared, bro. He's been scared the whole time. He's been scared the whole time. Like, he does not want to offend them, okay? But by doing this, by being this, I don't want to say you, right? Like, I don't want you to think that I'm, right? Right? Because you don't want to be saved, right? I get it, right? But I would like to help you, right? Right? Is that okay, right? Right? Bro, chill, calm down. Where's your posture at? Why are you over here fucking? I don't want to. It's because It's because I feel like listening to ultimate white supremacist right here next to him. Right, I feel like listening to the ultimate white supremacist right here is the reason why he's like, I don't know if I don't even know if any of it sounds right anymore, bro. Like. And that's why Shorty back there is so damn comfortable, bro. Let me get another still. She's chilling. She's chilling now. Like, she got a little tense during that argument, but nigga, for that whole little shit, nigga, she's chilling, laid back, bro. She is cool. But this guy, he's on some other shit, and this guy, he's fucking look at him. Look at his forehead. He's been sweating. He's been going through his hair. He's been clamming. I know his hands are sweaty than a motherfucker right now. Like, bro, calm down, Jacob. Calm down. Okay, you got a biblical name, all right? You gotta stand on something, man. You gotta stand. You gotta speak with your chest out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You a little too. You know what I'm saying? Chill out. You know what I'm saying? We ain't gonna stomp you. We ain't gonna stomp you out. I know that's what you think. I know that's what you believe, really. That because you're offending us, we're gonna stomp you out. But no, that's not what we're gonna do. We're just gonna politely give you these facts and just fuck you up with the facts. That's it. That's it. That's all we want to do. Chill out, player.
Like equal outcome, or not equal outcome, but at least equal opportunity, which, in my opinion, I feel we do not have in this country.
Instantly.
DraftKings, you spoiling me now with these big payouts. Retired NFL.
This is awkward. Hi, guys. So I didn't step forward just because I don't want to broad brush all white liberals as having a white savior complex. I have experienced white liberals who do have that, and they're very unpleasant people. But I don't think every single white person who's a liberal or who is an activist for BLM or any of those things necessarily has a white savior complex. I think that there's a lot of white people who genuinely think that Black people are oppressed and they want to help, and that's what they're told.
What it seems like to me, when most people have savior complex, regardless of whom they're trying to save, it's like they're taking real pain and real trauma and using that as a way to push this political agenda, but also to alleviate themselves of whatever guilt that they feel unnecessarily. Like, I don't know why a white person today would feel guilty for things that happened decades ago, let alone something that happened centuries ago.
I've never seen a white person say, I personally feel guilty for slavery.
I
Maybe they're
promise
out there, but I've never heard that.
Yeah, in second grade, when they taught us about slavery, almost every kid in my classroom would spend their entire time looking at Black kids in that classroom. How was I supposed to not think, wow, these people are feeling guilty for something that they have no involvement in and I have no involvement in?
Every kid in my classroom understood the context.
People hate feeling uncomfortable, and obviously you don't want to feel like the bad guy. And so I feel like it comes from a place of like, oh, well, like, let me make sure that I'm different and like I'm showing you that I want to like help you, but it comes across like I think it can land very poorly.
I'll tell you what, stop it. Stop it. Because what happens is when you put yourself as the white savior, what you do is you elevate yourself above the Black person because you feel then like you have to save us. So just stop it. Just treat everybody regular and normal. Just like I would treat you regular and normal, you treat us regular and normal rather than trying to save us.
I just got one thing I wanted to bring up earlier about taxes, because you were saying that you had your job and you were talking about how like you get the tax every time and you're like seeing your tax go up. I worked in nursing homes in 2020 COVID. The last thing that was on my mind when I watched 60 and 70-year-olds on their deathbeds suffocating to death was taxes. I was worried about healthcare. I didn't give a shit about taxes in that time. So when I go to work every day, that's what I see. That's what I want to fix.
I see you once again elevating yourself above the rest of us, and particularly at me, a white man elevating himself above a Black person.
He called me a bootlicker. He called me a bootlicker.
Oh no, I triggered them all. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm not triggered. I'm chilling, buddy.
Yes, you are.
No, I triggered the niggas. Oh no, I triggered them. I told you. Hey, he's about to go home back. He's about to go home right now to his clan room, talk to him like, hey, I told you. Didn't I tell you? He's about to take off that cap. He got the little swastika on top. You know what I'm saying? He'll take off that cap like, hey, didn't I tell you I'd get a rise out them niggas? I told you I'd get a rise out them niggas. I told you I'd get him out their seat. Didn't I tell you? I told you. And the little dark one, the little Black one that was right next to me, the little Black lady that's sitting right next to me, little jigaboo lady. Yeah, man. We'll bring her back here to barbecue her here tonight. I tell you, I told you I'd get a rise out of this.
What I hope comes out of this
chilling.
conversation is that we're all Americans. And because we're all Americans, we know that America has a bunch of problems. And I think every person here wants to solve the problems. And I think everybody is bringing what they have to the table with their ideas on how to get us to unify. This kind of stuff, right? But you got something in there. Hopefully, I mean, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you have something in there that's redeeming about you that would bring all of Americans together. So I hope that we end on the note of American.
UNITY.
I would like to say we're all made in the image of God. And so we're all have our inerrant worth just because we're made in his image. And we should treat each other as fellow image bearers, not just by the color of our skin. I mean, as Martin Luther King said.
He also did not like capitalism.
I think something that's really challenging, I've definitely been guilty in the past of throwing around the Uncle Tom word. I used to be hardcore progressive. I'm still relatively progressive. But something that I've learned as time has gone on is being a white person isolates you from a lot of the different types of racial struggles that people go through. And those struggles can take a lot of different forms, not just, was my ancestor a slave, and not just is my culture bad, but sometimes in the way that, people grow and develop, right? Like, am I actually choosing these political beliefs because they mean something to me, or is it because I'm Black or my parents are Black? If I speak a certain way, am I betraying my race? If I am a political orientation, am I a bootlicker? And I think that it's important when you're coming from a progressive point of view to understand that even though there are conservatives that are Black people, you have to treat them as individuals and not just come at it with this, like, you're Black, you're a conservative, therefore here's like 6 or 7 different slurs that I can use against you, but they're approved because I happen to be on the progressive side.
Man, that was a decent video. That was actually pretty decent. I didn't know exactly what to expect. I didn't exactly know what to expect from that one, but that was decent, right? That was decent. I think that was
The Genesis GV70, 375 horsepower.
I think that white liberal really hung himself out there. Alec, I think he really, really stepped in it. I think Buddy really stepped in it. He was way too confident in this, in his whole, man, yeah, he was way too confident, bro. I don't, oh man. That made me sick. I ain't even gonna cap with you. That shit, like that shit makes me sick to my stomach. But like, bro, really think about it. Bro was sitting here really trying to tell him, like, no, you're wrong. I know you think that you're right. You know what I'm saying? But like, I'm gonna save you. I have the big brother complex. I'm gonna save you whether you like it or not. I'm a savior. I'm superior to. I'm better than you. Okay, I'm better. You heard those, like, what? You're speaking right now. You're speaking right now. Yeah, but you keep cutting her off. I feel like I have to. I have to. Yeah, because you feel like you're better. You think you're better. That's insane, man. That that one kind of hit a nerve on you, boy. I ain't gonna cap. That one hit a nerve on you, boy. But just not like not the worst. I guess it wasn't too. I don't know. That. I'm just glad that black lady got her dig in at the end. I'm glad she got her dig in. She had to, this, shut it down, shut it down. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say that there might be something redeeming about you. Like, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. Yeah, I'm eating it up. I'm eating it up, man. Let's see what we're gonna do next. What are we gonna do next? How about this? How about we look at that Al Sharpton MSNBC interview with Vivek? I think it kind of ties into to the video that we just watched, right? Because well, for one, main thing is oh my goodness, what's going on here? Yeah. So, but yeah, the main thing is, like, liberals and the Democrats, they they have this superiority complex, and it doesn't matter where they're black, white, or whatever. Okay, if, like, Democrats have this superiority complex that is it's very noticeable, right? It's very noticeable. Like I can speak from experience as a former Mr. Blackity Black, as a former Mr. Blackity Black. I can with a clear vision, with a clear memory, recall feeling superior to white people. Like I believe in my heart of hearts that white people were atrocious and that they were just all bad. There was nothing redeeming about them, and this, that, and the other. Like I remember actually believing that. I remember believing that black people are, we're the primordial beings of the universe and this, that, and the other. And, all things flow through black and this, that, and, melanin is the fruit of the seed and the oil of life. All this extra shit. You know what I'm saying? Like that. And honestly, it's a good marketing campaign. It's a great marketing campaign. I think the first black people that actually come and actually you know commercialize black culture for actual consumption outside the race. You got all these white women that want to get weaves and shit like that, but then you got black women. Oh no, girl, you can't get that, nigga, bro. The first black woman that's not like, oh no, girl, you can't get that. The first black woman that's like, shit, girl, $500, I'll do it for you. Like the first black woman, you know what I'm saying? I'll give you the authentic. Make sure it doesn't matter up. You know what I mean? I'll make sure it doesn't matter up. You gotta come back to me, but you gotta come back at this time, and this is where it's good. But my time is valuable though. It's gonna be $500 every time. Tell your friends, you know what I'm saying? So they can get the authentic African braids, the authentic African dress, and they can get it done by a black. Because if you get it done by a black woman, you see, then there's a cultural, there's a few, you get to play on that, right? You get to play on it and make money off of that. That's what capitalism is about. Instead of just sitting there, on your ass complaining about the shits, right? Like, but there's this. Let's get into this because so Vivek Ramaswamy and Ayanna Presley, and this is going to be kind of in a topic on my Black Faces, Black Voices thing. So Ayanna Presley said in a recent interview, she said, "We don't want any more black faces." Hold on, let me come to my solo. Ayanna Presley said, and I quote, "We don't want any more black faces, okay, that don't want to be a black voice. And we don't want any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice." Literal racist, the most racist shit that you can say, right? And things like these are the most, these are the words of the modern KKK, but that's how Democrats just talk. They don't care, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, black people, they're all the same. Black people. So if they don't talk like that, then they're not black for real. They're just Uncle Toms, right? They're just, there's something wrong with them, right? There's something wrong with them. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this interview with Vivek Ramaswamy and Al Sharpton. I thought it was an interesting interview. I'm gonna go ahead break it down. We're probably gonna watch it through. I'm probably gonna stop, give my thoughts every now and then, but I'm gonna try to let most of it play through and then give my thoughts kind of at the end, if that is okay. Okay, hold on, y'all. Put it up. No. Boom. All right, let's get it. Vivek Ramaswamy on his 2024 presidential run. Let's get it.
Politics Nation. According to a brand new Wall Street Journal poll out today that was conducted entirely after the first Republican presidential debate and mostly after the release of Donald Trump's Fulton County mugshot, the former president holds a whopping 46-point lead over Florida Governor Ron DeSantis among GOP primary voters, 59 to 13%. My next guest is also somewhere on that list, but with much less support, with 5%. Joining me now is 2024 presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. First of all, thank you for.
Hold on. Before we get into it, I have to say, okay, about Al Sharpton. All right, about Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton is fucking hilarious. So just listen to my man. Just listen to my boy. I'm gonna be back here. I'm gonna try not to stop. I'm gonna just try to let it get through as much as I possibly can, and I'm gonna give my thoughts at the end. But you're gonna hear me making fun of my boy Al Sharpton because he's absolutely hilarious. But let's go.
For being here and engaging us in this conversation. I want to start with comments you made repeatedly now, referring to Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley and author Ibram Kendi as, quote, grand wizards of the modern KKK. Now, I understand you differ with both of them politically and probably with me. But as a graduate of Harvard and Yale universities, I believe you must be aware the Ku Klux Klan is not a political party. It's a terrorist organization. Historians view the Klan as the driving force behind lynchings of blacks in the American South, more than 4,000 people murdered from 1877 to 1950. And the group is linked to numerous other acts of racial violence continuing through the civil rights movement to the present day. You're running to be the leader of the free world. So your choice of words matter. Have you taken any time to reflect upon the possibility that comparing your political rivals to murderous terrorists might put their lives in danger at a time when hate crimes are on the rise? Or do you just don't care?
So Reverend Sharpton, I don't look at the world through political parties. Frankly, it's good to see it's been 20 years since we last spoke. And part of the reason that I came to that event 20 years ago with you is that you were a political outsider just like I am in my own party. But let me talk about the issue you're actually asking about, which is that, you know, what's toxic about that old worldview of organizations like the KKK, which have been a god-awful stain on our national history, is that they say that your skin color determines what you're allowed to say, what you're allowed to think. To say you have to shut up, sit down, and do as you're told because you're black or brown skinned. Well, you know what Ayanna Pressley said much more recently is that we don't want any more black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't want any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. And so, yes, I do think there are echoes of a historical ugly racism in this country now showing up in new clothing.
To say we
and
don't
what I want to lead us to as the next president
just a second.
is a
To say
united
that we
nation
do not want
where we
black
don't actually
voices,
judge each other on the
to
color of our
say
skin.
that is not going with sheets and burning crosses and lynching people. If she said something you disagree with,
the point I'm making,
you cannot equate Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan with somebody saying something that you think is a little controversial or a little too far. Some of our relatives were terrorized by the Ku Klux Klan. I'm trying to get you to understand
I know
the
you're
pain
intellectually honest. I know you're an intellectually honest guy, and so I will remind you that Hakeem Jeffries drew analogies between Donald Trump and the Ku Klux Klan, and I don't think you had him on pressing him in the same way. So we're drawing analogies here to make a point.
He did not call Donald Trump the Grand Dragon of the KKK. He did not call Donald Trump an officer of the modern KKK. Let's not change what was said.
So, Reverend Sharpton, though, I'm calling out a double standard and saying that certain people can use certain analogies to make a point. Well, I'm using an analogy to make a point. And the point I'm making is we should stop seeing each other on the basis of our skin color. It was god-awful when the KKK did it. But you know what? We have to learn a lesson in the present that we're creating more racial division in this country.
But you
when
cannot
you say if
do
you
it
have black skin, you can only think one thing.
You cannot do it being insensitive to our feeling. Like that's like calling somebody of any kind of group that had a group that were terrorizing.
So I agree with you. We need sensitivity.
So I think we need to be very careful about that. And I wanted to raise that with you directly. Let me go to my next point.
And I respect that you're willing to have an open conversation.
But I want to ask you a couple of questions. And one thing, you know, if you talked, you mentioned we talked 20 years ago, and I'm going to get to that, but you should have known 20 years ago. You're not going to out-talk me, so let me ask my question. I'll let you talk, then I'll go back to the next
Goes both
point.
ways, yeah.
All right. You've spoken out against affirmative action and diversity programs, even though it is reporting in Axios and elsewhere have produced evidence your own former company has been involved in various DEI and ESG initiatives. Your own companies, DEI, diversity. I would hope we can agree that historically many communities of color have not enjoyed the same socio-economic benefits as white Americans. And many of those disparities persist to this day. What specifically would you do as president to address that problem, keeping in mind your own company got diversity business?
Yeah, so I want to be very clear about that. After I stepped down as CEO, precisely to speak my mind freely, the company that I founded went the direction of most companies in corporate America. And I disagree with that decision. But you're asking a more important question about what are we going to do to ensure equality of opportunity in this country? You're right. We have been an imperfect nation. I've always said it, but we aspire towards perfection. How do we go that next step? I want to make sure kids aren't trapped in the ghetto of a zip code that they happen to be born in. To the contrary, I think every parent deserves to have the opportunity to send their kids to the best possible school. That's why I favor radical school choice in this country. I think it's a mystery, Reverend Sharpton. The very people who will wax eloquent about systemic racism are also the ones who are opposed to educational mobility. That's why I've said shut down the U.S. Department of Education. Use that $80 billion, put it in the hands of parents so they can actually send their kids to that best possible school they can. That's the actual civil rights issue of our time. So I stand for solutions. I stand for equality of opportunity, but I reject race-based quota systems.
I did not go to Harvard, but I know when a question is not answered. I did not ask you about education. I asked you about diversity in business. I asked you about a company you headed getting DEI. How do we deal with
here's what I'm against.
Wait a minute. Let me ask the question again. How do we deal with the economic disparity in businesses of color and people of color in the economic arena? You ran the school choice, good duck, but wrong show. Deal with the economic. You're a businessman.
It's actually related. You know, I know you're smarter than this to know that education leads to economic prosperity. So there's no Band-Aid fix.
But after you're educated, we have educated people that can't get contracts. We have educated people that have no problem with being educated that can't get contracts. How do you deal with the inequality in how they do business in this country, how they get jobs? That's where the DEI programs come from.
So I understand where they come from. I'm against it because it causes us to see one another on the basis of our skin color. I can tell you from personal experience, I have hired, both in businesses I've founded, even in this campaign, people who are Black executives who have, I think, been unfairly judged. I put them in those positions because of merit. Other people at the companies and otherwise have seen those people as getting that position because of racial quota systems. That is wrong, no matter whether you're Black or white.
Many
I
of
think
them
we
were
need to go
barred
back to
because
colorblind meritocracy. That's what we need in this country. That's how I've led the companies I've built. That's how I will lead this country.
You know that many of them
were
barred and had the merit. But since you talked about experience, I need to show you this tape. Back in 2003, when I ran for president and you were there to ask me a question at a forum I was doing at Harvard University. So 20 years later, now my turn to ask. Let me first play you the tape of you and I 20 years ago.
Good. Let's get to my question here. Go ahead.
Reverend Sharpton, hello. I'm Vivek, and I want to ask you, last week on the show we had Senator Kerry, and this week and the week before we had Senator Edwards. And my question for you is, of all the Democratic candidates out there, why should I vote for the one with the least political experience?
Well, you shouldn't, because I have the most political experience. I got involved in the political movement when I was 12 years old. And I've been involved in social policy for the last 30 years. So don't confuse people that have a job with political experience.
Recordings just got better. Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard. I'm so excited to announce that local recordings are now available.
I didn't know that I wanted this interview, but when I saw that it came out, I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be amazing. Because I love Al Sharpton. I don't love his politics. I don't love that he's a race hustler. I don't love any of that stuff. I just love hearing Al Sharpton speak because it's the most hilarious shit on the earth to me. Or do you just don't care? It's amazing. It's amazing. But yeah, we'll keep going.
So 20 years later, now my turn to ask you, of all the Republican candidates out there, why should someone vote for you, the one with the least political experience? And I might add, you've never held office. You've only voted twice.
That's correct.
In the last few elections. You don't even vote regularly.
Yes.
And you support Donald Trump, who never held office until he was president. Well, you putting a different standard on me, but I won't even make the racial application there. Why should we vote for you?
Listen, at the age of 18, I think you persuaded me on that one, that political experience is not the same as holding office. To tell you the truth, the reason I came out there and I was intrigued.
Can I put out right-wing press that Sharpton converted a young, well, I don't want to take credit for
to believe outside of political experience, I'm going to tell you the truth. One of the things, I'll even give you one more for you, okay? You were the only anti-war candidate back then. I was against the Iraq War. As I recall, you were the only anti-war candidate in either party. Well, guess what? Tables turn now. I'm the only true anti-war candidate in either political party now when it comes to Ukraine. I believe in America First policies. I think this Ukraine war does not advance American interests. I was the only person with the courage to say that on the Republican debate stage last week. The real war I would take on is the war against the administrative state, the shadow government here at home. I think the people who we elect to run the government, once again, ought to be the people who actually run the government, not the cancerous bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. I'll have a 75% headcount reduction for all of the people who weren't elected in Washington, D.C. So this is a very different vision than you hear amongst traditional Democrats for sure, but even amongst traditional Republicans. I want to shut down the administrative state. I want to declare independence from China. I want to grow our economy by drilling and fracking and embracing energy. And I want to revive national pride in this country. That's not a Republican idea or a Democratic vision. It is a pro-American vision. That's what I stand for. It's why I'm in this race.
I would take issue that when I opposed the war in Iraq and going for weapons of mass destruction that wasn't there, so I ended up being right. You can't compare that to the United States supporting Ukraine defending itself against Russia. So
look, I think there's a myth that Ukraine's actually, I think I was against the Iraq war then, but I'm consistent now. Ukraine is not some democracy that we've now painted it to be. I think this is a regime that really has some serious flaws as well.
Ukraine is in
I think I respectfully disagree with you.
Strategic place where
I respectfully disagree that I do not think
that, but all right, we can agree to disagree on
Ukraine is not a NATO ally, and Ukraine doesn't advance U.S. interests. So that's one of the things that's distinctive about my views.
We disagree respectfully on that. Now, NBC is reporting that you were once a recipient of a fellowship for immigrants and children of immigrants from the Soros Foundation. You were awarded the fellowship in 2011 to support your studies at Yale Law School. And the issue is that you, the child of Indian immigrants, are now accusing some immigrants of carrying out an invasion of the United States. And that as president, you would make it more difficult for children of immigrants born here to participate in the political process. The floor is yours to explain how you enjoyed from it, that you Sharpton convinced you could run for president. Soros helped you through college. Explain all of this.
Come on. So you know what's really kind of funny about this? That you draw a distinction between legal and illegal immigrants like it doesn't exist. And I think that's a major problem in this country. I think that we need to use our own military to secure our own southern border, not an armed invasion across somebody else's random border, but across our own border right here in the United States of America. I stand for that. I believe in the rule of law. My parents came to this country legally through the front door, followed the rules, paid their taxes, raised 2 kids. Both of us went on to found companies that helped thousands of Americans. But that also means that your first act of entering this country cannot break the law. That's part of what it means to be an American. We believe in the rule of law. So yes, I want to end funding for sanctuary cities, end foreign aid to Mexico and other countries.
You have no problem
illegal immigration.
with helping,
I am a hardliner on. Absolutely.
You have no problem with helping those immigrants that come here and follow the law and become citizens.
I want to help every legal citizen of this country. That's what America First means, putting every American first. And you see how I run this campaign? It's very different. I've gone to the south side of Chicago, to Kensington, in the middle of Philadelphia.
Right.
I haven't called Zelensky, but I have called people in West Maui. America first means every American.
All right, let me
but
ask
that
you
means
this.
you have
Let
to come
me
to this
ask you
country
this.
legally, not illegally.
Let me ask you this. You say we run the country with a nation of laws and that we ought to follow the laws. Then how can you and your
Yes.
colleagues stand on a debate stage and say that you would endorse and support for president a man if he was convicted of breaking the law and a felony in Donald Trump? How can you say, I will put a convict back in the White House, and you say that I'm
the way our
supporting the
Constitution
law?
and laws of this country work. First of all, I'm running to be the next president, and I expect to be the next president because I want to reunite this country in a way that we badly need. But I have made a pledge to be on that debate stage, and I intend to keep it because I think the way we do things in the United States of America is that the people of this country get to decide who governs, not the administrative police state. So for better or worse, if it's a guy I disagree with or a guy I agree
I'm
with,
talking
in this
about
case,
if
Donald
he
Trump, I
was
do agree with most of his
convicted
policies.
of the crime.
But
The question
either
posed
way,
to you all
you got to
was
follow the
if
Constitution.
he was
You have to follow the
convicted
Constitution.
of a crime. If the Constitution is clear.
So the
if he's convicted
Constitution
of
does not
seditious
eliminate you.
conduct, he's eliminated. Let me then put it to you this
The
way.
Constitution governs. I believe in the Constitution, and the Constitution says we have a process for picking presidents in this country. I think we should follow it. I expect to follow it. I expect
If
to be
you
the next
became president,
But even if it's not me, I will support anyone who follows that process.
If you became president, would you pardon Donald Trump for any of the crimes that he's been indicted for, or if he's convicted?
On the current facts that we have, he is one of many people that I have identified as someone I would pardon because I do not think that this sets a good precedent for our country, where a party in power uses police force to indict its political opponents in the middle of an election. There are Democrats on that list.
Wait a minute.
It
You
doesn't
got
matter.
19 people indicted. They're not running all of it. But even before you've heard the evidence, before the trials, you're saying that you would prejudge what is going to come out and try and commit to pardoning them.
That's not
Yet
correct.
You claim
that's not correct. I've actually been very clear on this, Reverend. Assuming that the prosecution's statement of the facts in the indictment is the worst version of the facts, then yes, I would. So I waited till I read the indictments cover to cover. In 99% of prosecutions, you and any lawyer will also know this. That's the worst statement of the facts you're going to get for the defense.
But it's not all that's going to come out at trial. You and I know that. That's not all that's going to come out at trial.
So what I said is assuming, well, I was very clear at the time. I said, I've read the indictment, and assuming these are the worst facts, then yes, on these facts, I will pardon Trump. Just as, by the way, I've said I would pardon Julian Assange, who, by my best guess, has very different politics than I do. Because, again, we applied a different standard to Julian Assange.
Because when you talk about the law, you've also said that, I remember there was the big argument about you saying that people having the right to guns had something to do with slavery. When the Second Amendment was in 1791, slavery didn't end until 1865. I mean, you're very, very...
Well, I can actually share with you something about this. Chief
It's just different. I see the way these people moving, gotta step according. These days you never know who's watching, better keep your 40. Been on my soapbox for years, saying the end was coming. While y'all was busy popping Zans, the master plan unfolded. Now all I see is bot bitches and fake niggas on pussy niggas who only bust triggers on other niggas. You get an illegal weapon and started taking pictures like them feds ain't watching, all in your celly system. China's here, motherfucker, they're no longer coming. We wear the shackles on our faces and you niggas love it. You niggas really. It's just different. I see the way these people moving, gotta step according. These days you never know who's watching, better keep your 40. Been on my soapbox for years, saying the end was coming. While y'all was busy popping Zans, the master plan unfolded. Now all I see is bot bitches and fake niggas on pussy niggas who only bust triggers on other niggas. You get an illegal weapon and started taking pictures like them feds ain't watching, all in your celly system. China's here, motherfucker, they're no longer coming. We wear the shackles on our faces and you niggas love it. You niggas really. It's just different. I see the way these people moving, gotta step according. These days you never know who's watching, better keep your 40. Been on my soapbox for years, saying the end was coming. While y'all was busy popping Zans, the master plan unfolded. Now all I see is bot bitches and fake niggas on pussy niggas who only bust triggers on other niggas. You get an illegal weapon and started taking pictures like them feds ain't watching, all in your celly system. China's here, motherfucker, they're no longer coming. We wear the shackles on our faces and you niggas love it. You niggas really. It's just different. I see the way these people moving.
All right, all right, all right. We are back. We are back. We are back. We are back.
It's just different. I see the way these people moving, gotta step according. These days you never know who's watching, better keep your 40. Been on my soapbox for years, saying the end was coming. While y'all was busy popping Zans, the master plan unfolded. Now all I see is bot bitch.
Excuse me. We are back. We are back. We are back. We are back. Sorry, we were definitely in the middle of something very intimate, touching moment, right? That we were in the middle of. And kind of got interrupted. My router got kicked over. Most likely my son, but that is okay. That's why we fight. That's why we come back. You know what I'm saying? That's why we do what we do. So yeah, let's go ahead and get back. Get back to it. We were reacting to Vivek Ramaswamy, as they call him, Vivek. We're almost done too, so we'll just go ahead and finish out the rest of that. And, yeah, we'll just finish out the rest of this, and we'll see what's up next. We'll see what's on the chopping block.
We can't sweep that under the rug.
They didn't do the Second Amendment to help. Blacks couldn't get guns and fight. There were no. They were not fighting to give blacks guns. And when Taney said that, clearly
so literally that was the justification in the Dred Scott case for why black people couldn't be citizens.
Dred Scott
and the first
decision was not in
laws
1791, by the way. But one last thing.
It was before the Civil War, as you well know. And I think that we should confront our history and have an open and honest debate about it. That's what makes us stronger as a country.
Until the 13th Amendment, we couldn't
our
vote
history and confront it.
Let me ask you one last question. We're out of time.
And that's how we unite this country.
One thing we have in common with Trump is you've been criticized for trafficking in conspiracy theories. So here goes. Do you believe, let me ask you this, because you and Trump have both been accused of trafficking conspiracy theories. Do you believe Barack Obama was born in the United States, and do you think it was appropriate for Trump to suggest to otherwise, even as evidence mounted, that the claim was a lie?
I think I have every reason to believe Obama was born in the U.S., and I have never brought up that issue, and I have no idea why we're actually discussing that. But what I have talked about is, for example, Saudi Arabia was absolutely involved in 9/11, despite the fact that our government refused to acknowledge it. That COVID-19 did originate in a lab in China, despite the fact that our government called that a conspiracy theory. That we still haven't seen the transgender shooter manifesto out of Nashville. So those aren't conspiracy
Donald
theories.
Trump
Those are
have
conspiracy
kept
realities.
saying
That's what matters.
Barack Obama was born in Kenya. He's a man that you said was the best president this century. Should he have continued trafficking the Kenya lie about Barack Obama?
Look, I will say, as a presidential candidate before he ran for president, I think he made absolutely the right decision to say that that was a ridiculous theory. Barack Obama was born in the United States. And frankly, I don't think we should dignify the things that aren't true versus talking about the hard things that were labeled conspiracy theories, but that are true now. So I actually believe in truth over theory. I'm tied to facts.
All right. Well, you certainly came, and you knew I was going to fight it out with you, and you stood up, did about 3 or 4 ducks, threw a couple. We'll do this again. Thank you, 2024 presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy.
Did about 3 or 4 ducks, you know what I'm saying? I tried to throw it right, and you ducked it, nigga. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? That's my president right there. I like Trump. Don't get me wrong. I like Trump. I love Trump. I just want to see them debate. I want to see Vivek, and I want to see Trump on the debate stage. That is what this country needs. That is that's what this great country needs. Damn it, we need Vivek and Trump on the debate stage. No doubt about it. No holds barred. Fucking hosted by Rumble. All kinds of shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of debate we need. That's the kind of debate. But yeah, let's go ahead and just talk about it a little bit and see what they're talking about here. So I was thinking about going backwards, but we'll just start from the beginning. So yeah, so he starts off with the whole, eye on the president thing, and that's kind of why I wanted to get into this video, coming off the Black conservatives versus white liberals video from Jubilee. Great video from Jubilee, by the way. That was a really good video, very well done. I didn't like some of the editing, some of the cuts, but I get it. I get it. Not everything can be in there or whatever, or not anything that's way too off topic or whatever. I get it. Got to keep it nice and succinct. Keep it nice and compact, but whatever. But yeah, great video by them. So he got into. So the first thing that Al Sharpton is asking about is, he's calling Ayanna Presley, like he said, these are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK. Because Ayanna Presley had said, "Fucking, we don't want any more black faces who don't want to be black voices, and we don't want any more brown faces who don't want to be brown voices." To which Vivek rightfully retorts, like, "Isn't that the same shit, like, as the KKK?" And then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, you can't say that. The KKK, they like lynched people. They were like actually terrorizing people. Like, they were actually doing horrible things. And then they, rightfully retorts like, well, didn't y'all do that to Donald Trump for, like, haven't y'all been doing that to him for almost a decade straight now? Calling him the Grand Wizard of the KKK, calling them white supremacists, calling them this, that, and the third. Shit, matter of fact, I'm pretty sure, come out to my solo. Let me come out to my solo. I'm pretty sure Jamal Bowman today just came out and called Vivek a white supremacist. Just today. Like let's be honest here. Like, that's your tactic. If something doesn't go your way, what happens? If something doesn't go a progressive's way, what happens? Huh? You get fucking all worked up. You know what I'm saying? And you call them racist. You call them white supremacists. You call them an Uncle Tom. You call them a coon. You call them whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like that. That's the first thing that you jump to. Let me see here. Let me see if I can find just insane, man. This is really insane. All right. So thank you to Politics by Tabitha for this one right here. We're gonna go ahead and just jump in just real quick to this one right here. Just because I don't
The best healthcare is there in ways.
Keep black women's name.
This is Jamal Bowman today. Today. Like today being like ridiculous. Like right after Vivek gets on and he's like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? This is racist. This is exactly what the KKK used to say, and every time y'all have a problem with somebody, the first thing y'all do is hop on your high horse, call people a white supremacist, call somebody a racist, and then boo hoo, whine, and cry, like BCP says, and you just get mad and sad, whenever somebody uses the same analogy against y'all. It's an analogy, right? It doesn't mean anything, right? It's just words, right? It's just rhetoric, right? That's what you said. So take the fucking gloves off. But this is Jamal Bowman today on Vivek.
Name out of your mouth. First of all, that's number one. Number two, keep black people name out of your mouth. And instead of spewing hateful, disgusting, ignorant, dumbass rhetoric, how about you pay homage to the black people in this country that have fought and died for the freedoms you exercise today? How about you pay homage to the black people historically that have continued to save the soul of America and move America forward? How about that? Instead of fitting in nicely into the pocket of the white supremacists that you are, having the nerve to spew hateful, disgusting, racist rhetoric. Keep a black woman's name out your mouth. Keep black people's name out your mouth. Learn your history. Have some.
Okay, I can't take any more of that shit. But you see the coonery or the buffoonery. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what I'm saying. Like, first, keep black women name out your mouth. Keep black people name out your mouth. Like what is that? Who the fuck do you think you are, bro? You think you better than some fucking body, bro? You think you better than some fucking body because you got black skin? You dumbass nigga. Can't even fucking speak right. You're still spewing ignorant, hate, and hateful rhetoric. Why don't you learn your history? Why don't you learn your fucking grammar? Why don't you learn some fucking English? Mr. Jamal, Mr. Bowman. How about that? How about that? How about you learn your motherfucking history? Mr. Democrat with 3Ks. How about you learn your motherfucking history? You know, here talking about they keep black women. See, this is the problem with niggas, and I'ma just say it. This is the problem with niggas. Can't nobody tell a nigga nothing. Can't nobody tell a nigga nothing. Not another nigga, and not a nigga that's not a nigga. Nobody can tell a nigga nothing. You cannot tell black people these days nothing, bro. If you're black and you tell a white person hey, maybe the community, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? You're an Uncle Tom. If you're white, you're a racist, or you're a white supremacist, or you're the KKK. Shit, if you're anything but black, you're a supremacist. Period. Right? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Say anything. Hold that mirror up just a little bit, and it's no. You're a racist. You're a supremacist. You don't take into account that the history that was involved in this, that, and the other. How long, as a grown ass man, Mr. Jamal, tell me as a 23-year-old, right? Tell the dumb 23-year-old, right? How long, Jamal? How long can you blame another man for your problems? How long can you keep white man's nuts in your mouth? How long can you gurgle them for without coming up for breath, my G? How long? You're a motherfucking like you've made it, bro. You're at the top of the you're in power, bro. You made it, Mr. Bowman. You got political power now. As a black man, you should be stomping your feet and lighting the motherfucking match for all the rights and all the privileges and all the benefits that you get as an American, not as a black American, but as an American, period. That you were able to come from whatever situation you came from as a kid all the way to public office. And then you can add black man on top of it. This is the bullshit I'll be talking about. This is why I left the left. And I'll be coming out with my my presentation. So what I'm probably gonna do is I'm gonna do the climate change one tomorrow. I'm gonna do climate change tomorrow, and then I'm gonna do black faces and black voices. Probably, I'll just do it next Saturday. I'll just do it next Saturday, or this upcoming Saturday. I'll just do it then. Oh no, I'll be traveling. Fuck it, we'll do two in one day. I'll do them both tomorrow. Fuck it, we'll do two in one day. How about it? If you're down for that, leave a motherfucking like. And go ahead and subscribe to the channel. You know what I'm saying? Get your notifications ready. Because tomorrow we're gonna really get into it. All right, we're gonna tackle climate change, and we're gonna tackle the racism of the Democratic Party. All right, so if you came in and you stopped through and you wanted to see me, I appreciate you. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you decided to pull up and come and kick it with your boy, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that very, very much. So please leave a like, subscribe, comment, share this with your homies, share this with your mama, share it with your grandmama. You know what I'm saying? In the words of Seti, like it because you love it. And I'm gonna go ahead and get on out of here so I can go ahead and get on my work so we can go ahead and have an amazing fucking broadcast tomorrow. We're gonna do a double lecture. Okay, we're gonna do a double presentation. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get to work. So, all right then.